For Kai, his new life kicked off exactly where the old one crashed, right in the middle of a game. His first life got twisted into pure cruelty, born with a frail body chained to a hospital bed from day one. A bird dropped the news into his grieving parents' hands, while a ghostly truth stared from the world outside his window. His only getaway was a gardening game, this tiny digital world he could mold into a dream he'd never get to live in. He died before he even hit 20, packed with a universe of regrets and one last desperate plea for a second chance. He didn't stay in that sterile hospital room. He was a newborn, dumped on a cold stone street under the glow of two moons in a world that looked ripped straight from fantasy. That crushing reality slammed into him. He'd been reborn just to be abandoned and left to die as a helpless newborn. Right when despair started swallowing him whole, a kind man appeared and spoke to him in a language he couldn't understand, and dragged him to a tiny house where another abandoned baby was curled up, sleeping in silence. It hit him with terrifying certainty. His wish actually worked. He'd been reborn. For the next 2 years he went all in, devouring every single thing he could about this brand new reality. Learning that he and the other kid, Rukia, had been taken in and adopted by a priest. Not a single world overflowing with magic and gods. His new father sat them down and told the tale of God Farley, along with his 13 children, and of the blessed souls who get a holy seal on their chests, unlocking powers no one else ever has. Bukai, burning with curiosity, sneaked into his father's study and stumbled on a secret book packed with names of gods that no official writing ever bothered to mention. His hope crumpled the moment he realized magic just wasn't in his bones. But then one day everything changed, when he and Rukia uncovered holy seals stamped on their chests, and their father burst with unstoppable pride and joy. By the time he hit 10 years old, Kai was drowning in anxiety, secretly whispering to the gods from a forbidden book, yet not a single answer ever came back. When Rukia caught him training, he went for broke, calling out the name he'd uncovered, Idea, like he was about to run an experiment. A blinding burst of brilliant light surged around his sister, and she gasped because she'd heard it and answer, a blessing from the god of truth. Then she unleashed her brand new power, the Eye of Truth, to uncover the name of the god who blessed Kai, Olamira. He was bursting with joy. This was it, his shot to finally become a good son and repay every bit of kindness life had thrown at him. He bolted to his room and shouted the name, then power detonated from his hands like lightning, cradling a whole miniature world in his palm, Tenohira village. A Japanese system message from his old world popped up, handing him his very first quest, pull off the first harvest and prove himself. It turned his garden game into something real, like it stepped right off the board and into his life. With a fresh spark in his chest, Kai kicked off his solo training, determined to make every moment count. He blew his allowance on tools and seeds, and that was just the start, and hauling them into his secret world, where plants erupted and shot up at a ridiculous pace. But his dream crashed fast when he discovered every last crop had withered, dying in his hands. In a burst of panic, he realized his pocket world was stripped bare, no clouds, no sun, no rain. So he decided to forge his own, using what he remembered from the old world to spark a fire, then stare up into that empty sky as the smoke curled out. Just as panic was about to swallow everything, the heavens tore open, rain blasted down and saved his farm. After a brutal year of non-stop work, he finally yanked his first real crop from the ground, and it felt like victory. Then the system roared in approval, leveling up his village and widening its borders in one brutal surge. His next mission was simple, fill it with people, and as he fired up his stove and roasted the very first potatoes, a tiny elf girl named Enel popped out of thin air as his first citizen, who walked right up and introduced herself as the cultivation manager of his village. For a reward, she pressed a pouch of creation seeds into his hands. And right after that, primitive villagers started popping up out of nowhere. Enel's guidance pushed his village thrive forward. As Kai's 12th birthday crept closer, he got ready for his big, official blessing ceremony at the temple, and he swore to a jittery Rukia that they'd both become apprentice priests together. Standing before the high priest, he confidently yanked off the cloth that had kept his seal hidden for 10 long years. But the priest's face contorted with pure terror the second he laid eyes on the mar. From the dark shadows, a ruthless inquisitor surged forward, jabbing a finger like a blade and sealing everything with one chilling command, evil god. Before Kai could even blink, they gagged him, tied him up, and hauled him out of the temple like he was nothing. Panic screamed in his head as he got tossed into the ship's dark, damp hold. They branded her a heretic without a trial and ripped away even the chance to say goodbye. After the grueling journey, they yanked him onto the deck, then shoved him onto a shaky pier on some lonely, deserted island. As the ship tore off into the horizon, it left him stranded, completely alone. Kai just stood there, staring into the endless ocean, because his second chance at life had already been smashed into a million pieces. Kai stumbles onto a barren beach, his first day in this new world, scratching his head, because there's not a single sign of civilization, so what on earth is he even supposed to do here? As he pushes deeper into the woods, a horrifying truth hits him. No people are out here at all. Panic detonates in his chest the second he locks eyes with a monstrous, chimera-like lion, straight from the Nightmare Game tutorial where you don't survive. The beast unleashes a thunderous roar that rattles everything around it. And Kai throws himself into a blind scramble, chomped down on dirt with pure desperation just to stay alive. An elf girl named Enel spots him trembling on the ground, and just like that, she rushes in, hands him water, and saves him. After catching her breath back in her village, he tells her the truth: he can only stay for a short time. A system alert flashes that he's capped at 3 hours a day, then his power gets locked away for 24 hours, so this village is the only place he can breathe in right now, just for a little while. Desperate, he pleads with Enel for a weapon, but she shuts him down, saying they don't even understand hunting and all they've got is the stone axe, plus the iron hoe he dragged along. This is win or die, and the odds are stacked so high they feel like they're crushing him. When Enel beams about being protected by the great god Aramilla, Kai can't even breathe easy, because in his world that god is stamped as evil. He steals his nerve, steps back onto the island, and finally lets out a breath of relief when the lion is nowhere in sight. Then bam, a monstrously huge boar barrels in to stop him cold, because this island is nothing but a monster playground. Right as the beast lunges at the small horned girl, she pops out of nowhere and slams it with one shockingly powerful punch that cuts its rampage short instantly. Kai's jaw drops as she snatches his hand and drags him to safety, shocked that anyone else is living here. The boar charges after her, but she darts toward an ancient temple it can't ever cross. For a split second, Kai worries that Rukia and his father might be in danger, then he shoves the thought aside and keeps moving. Right now he's got one mission: stay alive, no excuses. He swears he'll stay on this island for now, and he'll hunt down a way out one day. But that hard resolve gets ripped apart after one brutally cold night, where he spends hours shivering at the foot of a massive tree. Next morning, Enel bursts in with worry and finds him, cold, crushing his resolve before it can even stand. He grabs her attention and promises, "If I don't build shelter right now, I'll die." Even with Enel glaring and telling him it's impossible with their primitive tools, he still refuses to back down. Kai snatched up every scrap of material he could find, and he starts the brutal grind of digging a foundation just outside the village. He works non-stop, yanking and lashing logs together with brutal determination until a simple hut frame finally stands. As he hammers on, he locks eyes with the horned girl from yesterday. She's watching him from the trees. But the second he clocks her, she disappears like she was never there. By nightfall, he finally hammers out a crude but functional shelter, and it actually holds up. He finally collapses onto a leaf bed reeking of insect repellent, and for the very first time, sleep hits him peacefully. The next day hits, and somehow he feels brand new again. But he knows he can't hide behind the village's safety forever. He has to forge a real, sustainable life out on the island. Enel orders him to scour around and come back with anything fresh he finds, something tasty if he's lucky. And he bursts into motion to start working his brand new fields. While he's busy working, he spots a gift, fresh oranges, left behind by that mysterious girl. He blurts out his thanks, and her kindness reignites his spirit, while his resolve hardens into something stronger than ever. Kai hurries the strange fruit back to Enel, who's stunned by how unbelievably sweet that bear tastes. She tells him they've stumbled on a fresh discovery, and it's going to explode in the village faster than anyone expects. So Kai hands her the cultivation keys and turns back to tending his island farm. A few days later, his fields finally begin to take shape, like the land is coming alive right before his eyes. He realizes she's been sneaking by every single night, like a stray cat, dropping him food and making sure he doesn't go hungry. He pushes on, desperate to thank her the right way. Then a distant roar rips through the air, reminding him danger never really sleeps. He chats weapons with Enel, but she snaps back that even one spark of violence could obliterate her peaceful village. Right when despair crashes down on him, Enel throws the seed from that fruit back into his mind. A creation seed, this is the chant he unleashes. He plants it in the ground, gripping hope tight, begging that it grants him the power he needs to stay alive. He knows his father won't come swooping in to save him. He's completely alone out there, no backup, no safety net. The very next day, disaster explodes. He jolts awake with a brutal fever, and the cold grip of death starts crawling over him. As darkness closes in, the horned girl suddenly slips beside him, staring like she's daring him to admit he's about to die. With his final shred of strength, he drags her onto his bed just to keep her warm. And the bone-chilling cold finally loosens its grip. When morning breaks, he bolts upright feeling stronger, and there, safe and sound in his arms, lies the girl. She beams at him, so relieved he's still alive. He asks if she isn't scared of him, but she fires right back, grabbing his attention to her horns and pale skin and insisting he looks like a devil. Kai blurts out, "You're cute," and it instantly sends her into full-on fluster mode. She admits she's truly on her own. Every other kid who washed up on this island trembled at her, and no matter what she tried, she couldn't save them from sickness or monsters. But Kai lines in and insists, "You saved me." He shoots out his hand, calls himself Kai Husqvarna, and boldly asks her to be his friend. Tears shimmer in her eyes as she grabs his hand and whispers, "I'm Abyss." She nervously calls him Master, and even though he's totally thrown off, Kai can't help but smile, because this brutal world just handed him his first real companion. Kai jolts awake as Abyss leans in and greets him with a warm "good morning," setting a soft, hopeful tone for their brand new life side by side. He reassures her that he slept great on the futon she set up, and she lights up with pride, so thrilled to be useful to him. This weird cohabitation only just started, like a quiet promise dropped into a lonely world. Life is now a grueling loop of fieldwork, way easier with two people, but Kai still wipes sweat from his brow because he knows their diet is brutally, painfully limited. He stares at the tiny sprout rising from the seed of creation, wondering what it'll grow into, then slips into a hungry daydream of rice, corn, and especially meat. Days later, their prayers finally get answered in the weirdest way possible, because instead of fruit, the plant sprouts a tiny, childlike creature, curled up and sleeping right in the dirt. Kai and Abyss lock eyes, stunned beyond words, utterly frozen by what just happened. Abyss ever-practical shrugs and tells them to just harvest and eat it, and that suggestion sends Kai into full-blown terror. After a brief argument, they finally decide, no more waiting, they'll dig that creature out. As Kai hoists that tiny two-head being off the ground, his eyes snap wide with shock, because right there, he realizes this little fighter is a warrior created by his own power. The tiny warrior suddenly bursts into existence, making Kai jump in surprise, yet the little guy looks totally happy. He instantly knows this weird fruit is his warrior, so he pleads with it to help him take the land back. The tiny creature splits the insanely heavy iron hoe in half, then, blazing through in a blur, turns the whole field over perfectly in the blink of an eye. Kai and Abyss just stand there in disbelief, staring at their new power, because they've apparently recruited an unstoppable workforce. Later, as Kai and Enel trade ideas about labor, Kai realizes he has to tear across the island and hunt down even more resources. Abyss snaps into action right away, slamming the brakes on the idea and warning him, dangerous monsters are waiting just outside their safe zone. She offers to hunt for him, and it hits Kai right in the chest, but he refuses to lean on her like that. He begs the seasoned forest fighter to teach him how to battle, and when he swears she'll be safe and comes to after, she groans and reluctantly agrees. With their tiny warrior in tow, the whole party barrels straight into the jungle. Abyss leaned in and warned Kai about poisonous plants he'd never even heard of. While they hunt down new materials, Kai starts fidgeting like crazy, because the monsters are nowhere to be found. Abyss flashes a terrifying grin and tells him, "Don't worry, monsters will sniff you out soon, because you look absolutely irresistible." Her words ring true, then a monstrous snake explodes out of the trees, lunging straight for her, and the whole situation gets even more terrifyingly wide open. Panic spots his Kai, triggers his escape power, and poof, teleports back to the village, landing beside a shocked Enel like he never had time to breathe. The brief relief evaporates, and terror plus guilt crashes over him as he finally realizes he left the Abyss behind. Screaming her name, he rockets back into the deadly woods. He spots her standing there all alone, and she's completely, brutally done for. She tells him the monster's gone, throws her arms around him and breathes in relief, because her master made it out alive, and she admits she was scared to death he'd never survive. Kai hates that he ran, but when he realizes she's safe, a wave of relief crashes over him. That incident hits like a gut punch. He finally realizes his escape power is pure selfishness, because it only keeps him alive. The thought of Abyss getting hurt while he's safe drives him crazy. He has to level up fast so he can fight side by side with them. So that's how he upgrades the village, hunts down better materials, and forges real weapons that actually hit. This is brutal, but he's got to take that first step, right now. Right when he grabs his resolve, the ground bucks like it's alive, and a massive bird-like monster crashes its talons down inches from his face. His cold, predatory gaze clamps down on his prey, like he's already counting the seconds. No matter where he runs, this fight is coming for him. There's zero escape. The beast unleashes an earth-shattering screech, and as it screams for him to flee, the whole world seems to shake. Kai plants his feet, studies the creature like a hunter, and realizes it's moving on pure instinct. He screams at Abyss to dive for cover, because right now there's no escape, only a fight. He shouts for his warriors to smash the monster's legs with their stone axes, an all-or-nothing gamble to save the day. He shoves a terrified Abyss back, snarling for her to run, while he and the warriors hold the line and buy her time. With his plan snapping into place, Kai rockets back to the village, snatches roasted yams straight from Enel's fire, and bolts before anyone notices. And then he coils them around a stick before setting it on fire. He orders her to whip up more, then announces with zero hesitation that he's going monster hunting to start exterminating. He charges right back into the battle and hurls a blazing projectile straight at the giant bird. His warriors charge onto the beast as he slams down a second hit, then a third. He roars that he'll never run away alone again, and pure resolve hardens into steel. He drives a fourth flaming spear straight into the monster's feathers, and the wing beneath it ignites like a wildfire. But when he twists around, Abyss is still there, just planted in place, unmoving. She admits she couldn't walk away, terrified she'd drag him into danger, then pleads with him, begging him not to hate her. As the wounded monster claws its way back up, Abyss unleashes a nightmare-level power. Her body warps and shifts while pure magic surges into her hand. She fires a blinding burst of energy, and the creature gets vaporized on the spot. Kai can't even get words out because the moment she clocks it, she realizes she's looking at a truly terrifyingly powerful wizard. She nervously asks if he can still accept her, and Kai, zero hesitation, tells her he'll never hate her, begging her to stay by his side. Then Abyss drops the mask. She's a replicant Abyss, a battle doll from 1,000 years ago built to live forever, powered by magic. She jolted awake on that island centuries later, totally blank, no memories clinging to her at all. Instead of fear, Kai's eyes light up. She's absolutely fascinated, convinced her demonic look is downright beautiful. He grabs her hand and swears he'll never leave the one who risked her life for him. Abyss blurts out that she has no idea how to live, then, on a sudden whim, demands that he be her master. As Flood's Kai stared into the thoughts in his head, he got hit with a sudden flashback to his own burning need to be free. She drops to her knees and, with total formality, pleads for him to take her as his master. Kai realizes his old life, packed with games and anime, has trained him for this exact moment, so he steps forward and accepts her without an ounce of fear. He lights up and agrees on the spot, swearing that with her by his side, they'll track down the one thing she truly wants to do. Until the day it finally happens, they're stuck living side by side. A master and his most prized, power-packed companion. After Kai smashes the giant bird, he hauls its body back toward Tenohira village for materials, but his victory smile snaps off when he realizes the worst. His tiny warrior minion is gone, dead. Right when panic is about to explode, village manager Anil bursts in and praises Kai for hitting level 5. She tells him this is a massive milestone. He didn't just pry raw materials from the crow, he also unlocked brand new features for the village. A notice board suddenly pops into existence, and boom, turns out the guest function is live now. This new power lets Kai pull other people straight into his pocket dimensions just by grabbing their hand and firing the skill, and the second he realizes it, he's already itching to bring a besties in. He gets yanked for a second by what happened to his warrior, but Enel shoots back that it's just sleeping mode, and it'll come back in time. Relieved, Kai sees the moment and bolts into action. He's finally ready to show Abyss his powers and celebrate his level up in style. Abyss doesn't even flinch, she's just relieved the warrior is going to live, even if his strange blessing leaves her baffled, because that kind of power never existed 1,000 years ago. Kai can't wait, he begs her to see his village with her own eyes, and Abyss, who's never even left her island, finally says yes. He proudly introduces Tenohira village, then the place's insane magical density hits Abyss like a wave, and she feels herself start to reel and get sick. Enel snaps in fast, pushes Abyss to get out, and declares this world belongs to Kai alone, there's no room for anyone else. Kai steadied the weakened Abyss, and she snapped back that she wasn't afraid, just shocked by the sudden swing in her magical power, like the way air fuels her breath. She can't even budge without it, and Kai feels guilt stab his chest as he admits, truthfully, that he just wanted to show her his creation. That same night, the tension finally breaks. Kai digs in and tears into a giant roast meat platter like he's starving. He's basking in pure bliss, finally sinking his teeth into a real meal for the first time in ages. while Abyss sits back, content to just watch her master devour his food like it's the happiest moment of his life. 3 months roll by on the island, and while Kai explores with Abyss and Enal, he stumbles on an olive tree, buzzing with excitement like it can't wait to make oil. With his trusty warrior minions backing him up, he starts growing tangerines and bananas from scratch. As he slowly reshapes the island into a real working farm, he quietly plots his bigger dream: forge an ocean and build a boat so he can finally escape. Not to chase freedom, he just wanted one thing: see his family again. Touched by that, Abyss suddenly realizes her master isn't trapped on this island. She still has a whole life out there, and Kai grins, telling her, "Your family too," as she slams him with a crushing hug. Back at their booming camp, he spots it. His third seed of creation has shrunk into a dwarf, and the village just shot up to level 7. Still, winter's coming fast, and the huge job of building a ship keeps gnawing at him like a storm on the horizon. He's desperate for more hands, so he pleads with Enel for extra seeds, but she shuts him down cold, telling him the village doesn't need crops, it needs livestock. That idea is solid, but the cow requirement is insane. Your cows need to be at level 55. Enel throws out the idea of domesticating the island's wild creatures, and Kai snaps, so he sets off on a full-on expedition to the island's north side. He rallies his tiny crew, fires them up, and storms into the hunt for animals to fill up their farm. Her journey feels like a breeze, and the Abyssine myths say one thing for sure: staying by her master's side is always a blast. They finally broke into the northern plains, where magic won't stay steady, so the air feels calm, until you realize it's also a hunting ground, because monsters track Kai down here the moment he loses the great tree's protection. Soon they spot the prize waiting for them, an entire herd of water buffalo. The warped magic twists Abyss' stomach into knots, but Kai lanes in and dares her to stun one if she can. She hurls a brutal burst of power, and just like that, one victim drops instantly. As they close in, the beast rockets upward and charges back at them, while the whole herd explodes into a stampede behind it. Abyss shoves Kai back behind her, then readies a brutal strike to wipe them all out as they scramble to retreat. She rockets through the chaos, blasting spells left and right, but the power won't stay steady here. When she's clearly struggling, Kai yanks her hand and fires up his village ability. The rampaging buffalo slams to a stop the second the magic gets ripped out of here. The herd is stunned and worn out, so they seize 1 male and 4 females without a fight. Back in the village, Enel practically erupts with praise for completing the quest, then promises him a brand new seed. Kai beams as he surveys his brand new livestock pen, convinced the future of his village has never looked brighter. The season flips on a dime, spring gets drowned and scorching summer crashes in. And then the season exploded with a lavish autumn harvest. At last, a brutal winter slams into town, freezing everything in its path. Crammed in thick monster furs inside their brand new hideout, Kai and Abyss huddled by the hearth, chasing warmth like it was life itself. He can't stop marveling at everything they've pulled off, but a cold dread gnaws at his bones. He's staring down winter like it might be the end, and he's terrified he won't make it. Abyss slips him a warm potato in silence, and he gladly thanks her, saying he's just happy she's here. She leans in and tells him she's glad he's alive, and for a moment the world goes quiet as they share something soft and tender. A whole year crashes by, and when spring finally rolls back around, Enel storms in with a triumphant roar, yelling that Kai just hit level 10 at last. This unlocks a warp power. He plants a stake in the real world, and for good, it opens a permanent gate back to the island. And then, right out of nowhere, he gets a golden seed of creation dropped into his hands. He quickly buries that precious seed in the ground, praying it'll summon a whole new kind of villager. A few days later, 2 gigantic fox ears burst out of the ground like they were never supposed to stay buried. And just like that, Kai's jaw drops, because a tiny girl with sharp fox-like features steps out in front of him. She snaps into a dramatic pose and introduces herself as my lord, the great wizard of hellfire, hitting Kai and Abyss so hard they go utterly speechless at this wild new family member. From the blinding golden seed of creation, a brand new companion bursts into the world, an intense girl with fox ears, dressed in classic Japanese style, clinging to Kai like her life depends on it after his level 10 reward. She wastes no time, claims him as her first person, and orders him to pick a cute name. Kai jolts back to his old life for a split second, remembering how everyone used to say his name, AI, not Kai. He finally names the fiery girl Ren, and with her standing at his side in the abyss, his little family is whole at last. As soon as Ren steps onto the island, everything finally starts to settle into place. She finally steps out of the shadows as the self-proclaimed great wizard of hellfire, blasting a brutal surge of flames and howling wind that leaves Kai and Abyss completely stunned. Abyss freezes in shock. Ren isn't using the Manhwa of this world at all, but some other unknown force instead. Kai shrugs it off like it's just another twisted mystery this weird place throws at him, kind of like the village itself. With his new companions backing him up with brutal power, he sweeps across the island and has most of the monsters hunted down in the blink of an eye. Kai gratefully scraps every last bit of their remains and turns it into the perfect materials to build their home. Their little settlement finally bursts beyond its borders and hits the coast, officially leveling up into the Tenohira agricultural village. As Kai watches the villagers snatch food from the shore, it hits him. This isn't enough, they need a real ship. He couldn't wait another second, so he launched their escape plan, barking at Enel to grab rope and haul in sturdy logs to build a raft. He tells Abyss that he's built one over and over again, driven by one goal, to escape this island and finally show her the world beyond it. Once the squid-shaped raft is finished, Ren swings around and declares, "All right, time to set sail." On the eve of their departure, Kai crouches over the dirt and sketches a map, his mind flashing to a landmass to the southwest, one that'll take them 11 days to reach. He slaps together a juicy steak using 10 days of emergency rations, just in case everything falls apart and they have to scramble back. But right when their hopes soar, the Abyss goes ice cold, sniffing out something coming fast. She bursts out the news the ship is here. And on the horizon, a colossal carrack slices through the waves, charging straight for their island. Kai's thoughts are racing, could it be them here to save him? But Abyss smashes his hope to pieces, staring grimly and telling him this is the exact same temple ship that shows up every spring, the one that hauled him here in the first place. Kai clocks what it means, then gently pats the worried Abyss on the head and promises he'll be there to help. He decides to head out by himself, telling Abyss and Ren to stay on standby while he investigates. Crouched in the woods, he watches a hooded figure climb off, then abandon a small, crying girl on the pier. She's stranded on the deck as the ship roars off into the distance, leaving her behind. Kai bursts out from the trees and warmly greets the kid. She steps forward and introduces herself as Kaide. He awkwardly blunders out, saying she can't go home. Then he trips right over his own pole and faceplints straight into the water. As he crawls out drenched, mortified, and utterly soaked with embarrassment, Ren and Abyss burst in at full speed, with Abyss hauling Ren back by the collar as Ren rages and demands answers, screaming that whoever left the kid behind is about to get roasted. Kai swallows the weight in their chest and accepts the brutal truth. Our escape is officially off for now. He stares at the newest kid on their island and vows, no wavering, no backing down, that'll keep them from dying, and he'll drag them to safety himself. Once they finally dried off, they realized Keed hailed from a city called Gada, and that snap-fix conclusion hit Kai like ice. This island is a dumping ground, tossed aside and used by every country. He spots that her holy seal matches his, and he immediately invites her to a blessing ceremony. Keed clenches her courage and admits she's been chosen with the power of an evil god. But Kai flashes a grin and tells her the far-loved religion isn't the whole truth. What matters most is how she decides to wield her power. Keed took his words to heart and poured all her energy into action. She unleashes her blessing, granting her a temporary life. Suddenly her two stuffed dolls jerk to life and start quizzing her. Did she catch a cold? Everyone freezes in stunned silence as the toys suddenly start talking. Kai stares at that mysterious power, the one that's nothing like anything he's ever had. Right after he patted Keed on the head and pulled her into the team with a warm welcome. For the next 3 months, they stay glued together, pushing Keed through every hard adjustment to her brand new life. Turning into a tight-knit family, side by side, sharing meals that feel like comfort and laughter that never stops. By the time early summer rolled around, Kai decides it's time to leave the island, not to run, but to hunt for materials they can't get there, and Ren and Keed stay behind to guard the house. As Kai and Abyss pushed off on their humble raft, they finally set out to sea. The open ocean stretches forever, ruthless and merciless, with not a single safe harbor in sight. And Kai can't stop getting seasick, realizing way too late that leaving Keed behind was the right call. Back on shore, Ren snaps with raw bitterness, furious that he got stuck doing all the housework alone, arguing that her cuteness absolutely deserved to tag along for the entire journey. She mutters like she's trapped in a never-ending nightmare of boring chores. But she knows she has to guard the island, no matter how long she has to wait for her lord to come back. Suddenly her ears shot up, twitching like something just snapped in the air. Right then, Keed's animated doll collapses and flops to the floor like all the life just got cut. A blood-curdling shriek blasts across the cliffs, shaking everything in its wake. A place where they claimed every last monster got hunted down and wiped out. A monstrous, terror-striking bird beast dives out of the sky straight toward the helpless girl. But right as Ren gets hit, the great wizard of hellfire rips through the sky with a cataclysmic blast of magic, completely pulverizing the monster into nothing. She bursts in mid-tears, scoops her up, and holds her tight in a warm embrace, swearing she'll never leave her side. As Ren carries her home, she clutches the key and sobs out an apology, terrified she didn't give it her all. Her words crash down like a storm, and Ren's heart jolts with terror. What if her my lord never returns? The idea of being alone crushes her so hard that her ears sag low, and tears instantly flood her eyes. Seeing Ren's pain tear through her, Keed pulls her close and comforts her, promising, "I'll be back for sure, we'll wait together, side by side." Later that night, eerie rustling sounds snap them awake. Outside, they shockingly find Kai's warriors multiplying, because they're planting seeds in the ground and turning the area into a whole new battlefield. A ritual meant to multiply their numbers. A few days later, a brand new wave of them pops up overnight, like the ground just started birthing more. Ren reveals that Kai gave them the go-ahead for the breeding. With her new friends all around, Ren finally cracks. She isn't lonely like she used to be anymore. Keed clutched one of the tiny creatures to his chest, swearing they'd all stay put until he came back safe. Out on the open ocean, Kai spots land on the horizon, and you can feel it. This return journey is about to kick off in full glory. Worn out and frozen stiff, he grumbles about that brutal, endless raft ride. But they thrust themselves onto shore, hearts pounding as they finally hit solid ground. The abyss drives them straight toward a city that's supposed to exist, 3 days' march inland from the coast. Thinking about Kai and Ren waiting for them, Kai snaps back to full resolve and barks at his friends to speed up. Kai and Abyss tear across the continent, and the finish line is only a few days away. Kai cooks up a slick cover story to blend in. He claims he's a wealthy merchant, and that terrifying Abyss is just his personal bodyguard. He takes the warriors and leaves them guarding the village, then hops on a wagon loaded with goods, straight up reinventing himself as a convincing trader. He even tweaks his outfit for the role, and Abyss gives him a proud nod of approval. The finishing touch, a cute cat-eared hood that snaps into place to hide Abyss's demonic horns. She slips away in disguise, flashing devilish charm like a blade. As they trek on, Abyss's sharp ears suddenly catch voices whispering from the nearby woods. With nothing but hope burning in his chest, Kai decides to dive in and investigate for answers. He finally tracks them down and crashes into a grim setup where thugs have cornered a woman, yanking and tying her up like she's nothing. One of them yanks her hair and spits a sneer, saying his merchandise never should have tried to run. From the branches, Kai watches everything in icy silence, sizing up the thugs and realizing they're weaker than his buffaloes. Just as Abyss is about to stop him cold, he erupts with crackling magic, zapping the entire group in a single instant, sending them twitching and crashing to the ground. Kai steps out without a hint of panic, drops an apology for barging in, then lifts his head and calmly introduces himself. Kai, just a plain merchant. Sarah Bainch, the woman who got rescued, keeps her guard up and snaps that no merchant ever does a good deed without hunting for something back. With a sly smirk, Kai demands a simple payment, then promises that she'll lead them straight to the nearby town of Scorpa. Sarah nods, but her smile drops. She's barely gotten out of that same cursed city. Even with fear clawing at her, she steels herself to help them, because she's convinced that meeting them has to be fate. After she snatched a scarf to mask that weird collar on her neck, she blurts out that her captors are nothing but the trading company's private army. Then right before they roll out, Kai, the king of opportunism, rips the unconscious thugs' gear clean off them. He snaps the cords tight and lashes them to a tree so nobody can chase him down. They barrel into the loud, crowded port town of Scorpi, right as the whole place is roaring around them. And Kai's first priority is finally tasting the food of civilization. The trio hammers up their stall in Tenohira, and the customers come flooding in so fast the winds feel unreal. Those pest-free veggies and that smooth, charm-slinging sales pitch suck in a huge crowd like a magnet. By nightfall he vanished, leaving them staring at a mountain of gold coins. At the end, they're cracking open their fortune count like it's pure victory. Kai sprawls out his huge shopping list for their village, livestock supplies, building materials, and all the knowledge they'll need. He then humbly but boldly offers Sarah sanctuary on his island, because he knows she has nowhere else to go. She can't help but feel touched by his kindness, and he hasn't once dug into her past. Sarah finally snaps and spills it all. She admits she's not some random runaway at all, but a royal mage from the fallen principality of Mondial. She relives a terrifying ambush, her royal guard gets wiped out, and she and the princess are dragged off, captured by slavers. The enemy commander cut her magic down to nothing. And just like that, the princess was ripped away, and she got auctioned off like merchandise. Desperate, she blurts out that her collar is a magic sealing device meant to enslave people. And her last shred of hope is this desperate move. She drops to her knees and begs Kai to sell her again. As a magician, she could rake in a fortune, big enough to buy the princess's freedom back. Kai goes still to listen, his thoughts sprinting, and then he drops a chilling question: what if he sells her and bolts with the money? The mere thought makes Sarah's blood run cold. But Kai shoots back fast, swearing he'd never cross that line, because he trusts her with everything. He agrees to help her on two ruthless terms. First, she has to trust him with her whole heart, no doubt allowed. For the second the abyss shows up, she reveals her horns. Sarah's eyes widen as she realizes there's no mistake, she's looking at a demon. A terrifying myth made flesh, something this world should never have to face. But when she stares at the gorgeous girl standing next to Kai, she can't shake it, evil just doesn't fit her. With the pack locked in tight and the whole air buzzing with emotion, Night keeps moving, then Abyss, burning up with fever, demands to sleep beside her master in her grown-up form. Machikai's face went burning hot with pure, helpless embarrassment. Sarah locks eyes with the bond they share and decides she's joining them, and Kai suddenly finds himself stuck between two breathtaking women. In the dead silent dark, Sarah finally blurts out the truth. She's more scared for the princess, her own sister in her eyes, than for herself. Right as sleep starts to steal her, she begs him one last time, "Please save my friend." Staring at her honest sleeping face, Kai swore in silence, an unbreakable promise that he would save every single one of them. Kai and his crew drift through the bazaar, and then it hits them like a slap. This plan is doomed, because nobody here sells raw ores. Sarah blurts out an apology, admitting she has no clue where to get iron in this country, and before things drag on, Kai shrugs and decides they'll just buy iron tools for now. Just when the princess's rescue is put on pause, they burst into a full-blown shopping spree. Hunting down masks, hauling a caged chicken, and loading up fresh produce. Their haul suddenly swells with sheep, goats, and even a big dog, but Kai can't help groaning that horses and pigs were ridiculously expensive. They cram their cart to the brim with grains, veggies, rock candy, sugar, and even some soap, plus that sweet, lingering aroma. But when Kai counts their bounty, he knows it still won't cover what's waiting for them next. He tells Sarah to hang tight for a second while he hurriedly stashes everything away. He shoots his hand up, yells Tenohira, and then poof, vanishes with the cart, showing up again in the middle of his fast-growing village. Local elf Enel drops into stunned silence when an avalanche of resources suddenly hits, then blurts out, "How did you pull this off?" But the sheer shock of it all hits her like a truck. She immediately faints right there on the spot. After Kai wakes her up and brings her back into the city, she finally decides to hand Sarah the goods, while Sarah sits there, curled up and alone, waiting. He startles her right now because he's wearing a disguise mask. Her panic hits rewind and melts away the moment she blurts out that she feared he'd never come back. She admits that the second she's alone, she's completely helpless. Kai reaffirms his promise, and with a surge of grit, Sarah nods. Then she leads him straight to the Melini Trading Company, while Princess Yuri is trapped in captivity. Inside, the princess trembles through a maid's icy, heartless care. Before the portly owner, Melini called it a day with a nauseating smile. He needles her, saying that as a high-class prize, she's getting way better treatment than any bandit would dare, or what the Empire's army would have done. To drive his threat home, he yanks a flower from the vase, crushes it in his fist, and snarls that escape is impossible, because her new home is nothing but a gilded cage. A blinding burst of light snaps out of nowhere, and a transparent wall suddenly forms around her, an all-or-nothing shield she throws up to save herself. Melini rages at the barrier with every ounce of force, and she instantly realizes it's the power locked in the princess's blessing. Right then, a mercenary named Fossil barges in and laughs in his face at his boss's tasteless display. Fuzzle coolly leans in and tells him the barrier won't budge, no physical blows, no magic attacks can break it. But smugly smirks and says she still can't break free with it active either. He reminds Melini he's getting paid a fortune, and that failure is just not an option, a warning she already knows like the back of her hand. With a final bone-chilling grin, Fuzzle orders the princess to cling to her useless hope, right before he vanishes. Unshaken, Kai storms up to the towering Melini building alongside his crew. Sarah's trembling with raw fear, but Kai leans in and demands she trust him and stay silent, because he's got a plan. He sucks in a deep breath and instantly switches into the arrogant, wealthy, super-moody noble persona. He rips open the doors and barrels up to the receptionist, shouting that he's here for a massive transaction. Melini himself, owner of the place, storms down the stairs to greet his brand new customer. Kai declares he's a noble traveling incognito, then, without a single warning, signals his men, and the Biss viciously slams Sarah to the ground right at Melini's feet. The slaver is hit with confusion before he even gets going. Kai snaps his arms out with a dramatic flourish and announces he's brought back the escaped slave magician. He shoots off his demand for a reward right away, and a sly grin curls across his lips. Melini eyes him like something off, and Kai fires back with a flawless lie, saying Sarah begged him to sell her back so he could use the money to buy the princess's freedom. That fierce loyalty Kai felt, it totally hooked him, because a slave showing that kind of real, unwavering sincerity was practically unheard of. Sarah jolts back, grabs Kai, and breaks down in tears, screaming, "Why are you betraying me? You promised you'd save the princess." Kai coolly gently pats her hand and vows he's still going to buy the princess. That deal is perfect for literally everyone. With one final push, he insists Sarah's rock-solid loyalty deserves a last goodbye, right there with her princess. Melini cracks up at the dark idea, and then he nods, fully agreeing, steering them toward the back room where his prized trophy waits. They burst through a cold, lifeless hallway, and shoved into a grim chamber where defeated-looking women sat bound in chains, the princess's personal bodyguards. Right there, standing among them, is the gem of Mondial, Princess Yuri Cecil herself. Melini proudly showcases his special class slave like it's the crown jewel of his collection. And for a split second, Kai gets hit with the same thought. She looks just like this girl named Rukia. He asks the price, and Melini throws out a number so wild it feels like it could buy a whole mansion. Kai's calling it a huge discount, but everyone knows it's only happening because he brought Sarah back. Sarah gets shoved ahead, tumbling down in front of her captured comrades. She sobs through the words, begging, "I'm sorry, I trusted the wrong person," and she clings to one last wish, say goodbye before her heart finally shatters for good. Kai smirks at Melini, relishing the pathetic spectacle, and tells her he'll even buy a few of the bodyguards next. Right when Melini steps out to set up the sale, a frantic soldier crashes into him. The second the door clicks shut, Kai's whole act evaporates into thin air. His bodyguards beg him to stop, and he finally breaks, apologizing for dragging them through this nightmare. With a blink of steel, Abyss slashes through the guards' ropes in one brutal flash. Kai snaps that he couldn't stand watching them suffer, then orders everyone who wants out to grab each other's hands. He admits he can't show proof, but swears he'll forge them a real shot at freedom. Princess Yuri locks eyes with him, and in that gaze there's no greed or pity, only a blazing, ironclad determination. She strides forward without a beat and grabs Sarah's hand like it's fate. Once the chain's locked in, Kai flashes Abyss the signal, make it pure spectacle. Meanwhile, Melini gets hit with the nightmare. His men who went after Sarah come back found stripped naked, bound to trees like trophies. Rage detonates in him, he kicks his subordinate and roars for his met. Right as a colossal explosion, tears open the wall of his building. The Abyss looms in the dust like a ghostly shadow, perfectly stealing everyone's focus. Fossil bursts in at once, eyeing their mage like, "Yeah, you're the one behind this." Melini's panic didn't slow him down. He barked orders to his men to chase the runaway slaves, then smirked like he didn't need anyone else, swearing he'd de-hunt the magician down all by himself. As his men surge in pursuit, Abyss whips them into a heart-pounding chase through winding alleys. Hurling himself across rooftops with magic, he acted fearless while fear clawed at him for Kai and the others. In the blink of an eye, everything lurches. Sarah, the princess, and the bodyguards now find themselves standing in Kai's village. Sarah is completely stunned. She's yelling, furious, insisting he betrayed them. Kai sinks into calm, then suddenly shatters the truth. This was all a ruse, and he starts tearing off their chains with a stolen sword. Making it crystal clear, this place is a sanctuary forged by his power. He spills his whole plan, swears he'll rescue them, but leaves out the how, because getting Sarah back and selling her is the only move that herds everyone into one place for the escape. Princess Yuri gives a small, faint smile, and you can practically feel her wondering just how many times Sarah's loyalty has pulled her through now. With the final chain crashing to the ground, Kai drops his tools and finishes the job, then quietly admits to himself that he started treating Sarah like a little sister. Abyss tears down the streets, a crimson streak slicing through the chaos and acting like the perfect decoy. The mercenaries curse her speed, then snap, too late. They realize she was only bait, and the other 10 slaves had already vanished. But it's all tangled in her master's plan, one simple request hammering in her head: hold them off as long as you can, and don't you dare hesitate to smash them up. When the thugs finally trap her, shouting for her to stop messing around, a cold, unshakable resolve locks into her face. Lightning snarls in the air as she declares it's time, utterly crushed them all. She's copying Abyss, powering up a battle doll so terrifying it feels unreal, and when she unleashes her magic, a roaring storm rips the street apart. The mercenaries froze, curling with fear and bracing for impact, because they just realized they were up against a magician of terrifyingly massive skill. She cuts a ruthless path straight through them, moving with brutal purpose, every thought screaming one thing: finish fast, then sprint back to her master's side. Her burst of power snags the attention of their leader, and this other mage, smiling like he just hit the jackpot, can't wait to see her go off, so he challenges her to a duel. Meanwhile, miles from the chaos, Kai shouts for everyone he saved to sprint, while Abyss battles their pursuers to keep them from catching up. He tells Enel to set everything up as always before they bolt out of the city. Their plan crashes hard the moment they barrel straight into the slaver boss, who's fuming and grumbling about a hunt that went totally wrong. Kai bursts up behind him in a flash. Before he can even blink, his guards slam swords to his throat and shut him up on the spot. Bound, gagged, and flung back, the slave has Kai's group staring at him for a second, maybe to pry answers out about Sarah's collar, but then the clock runs out. Kai shoots the man down cold, saying his products are gone for good, and that he should wake up and treat this whole mess like a bad dream. Right as they're about to bolt from the massive blast, a thunderous explosion rips through the distance, while Abyss is still grinding his way through it. Panic spikes through the air, then, out of nowhere, another mercenary squad closes in, trapping them as their escape route gets sealed. Kai's thoughts sprint as he realizes, if these guys are here, the enemy mage must be tying up Abyss. He's sure she's got the power, but fear gnaws at him. What if they outthink her? The former slaves, grateful to Kai, finally snap into action and tell him, "You've done enough, now it's our turn to fight." But Kai just smiles, totally calm, as if he's letting everyone know this was exactly what he expected all along. He orders them to hide him just for a moment. Then he steps up with a grin and announces he's brought the battle experts. Right when the town guard finally storms in to shut down the illegal street fight. Kai rips open his secret weapon, an adorable swarm of chibi monsters, that drops onto the mercenaries and tears them apart. He barks one command, "Go get 'em and don't pull back," and the hunt kicks into full gear. The tiny warriors crash in with jaw-dropping strength and blistering speed, and the soldiers get completely crushed, everyone's left staring, too shocked to even speak. With the danger crushed, Kai lunges into gratitude, thanking his tiny allies as they fade back into seeds and drift off to sleep. Then he whips the squad into motion, shouting for everyone to bolt before more enemies crash the scene. Far off, Abyss and the mage slam into their final showdown. Abyss unleashes a non-stop storm of magic, and the man can barely hold the line, his mind spinning from her endless, brutal energy. This fight is a total slaughter. She dominates him so hard he doesn't even get a real chance. When Kai and the crew finally roll up, he flashes Abyss a bright thumbs up for a job crushed, and her whole face lights up with unstoppable pride. The defeated mage stands there, stunned, because a kid is holding a magician this powerful, the kind who could have flipped the entire war. Kai demands the warrior throw in the towel, but the man refuses to accept anything less than a full victory. So Kai lines in and whispers a brand new 3-minute plan to Abyss. She rips loose a huge distraction blast just to throw everyone off. In the middle of the smoke and chaos, Kai snaps a teleport straight behind the mage and yanks him in his grasp. The man's entire world gets wiped out in a single flash of blinding light. He jolts awake with a brutal thud. In a peaceful farming village, he just stood there, completely baffled, like he had no idea where he was. Kai and Enel are already on the scene, kicking their real plan into full gear. Enel blares the alarm, jolting the villagers awake and driving them to defend their homes against the evil intruder who's here to steal their harvest, and even their families. The mage tried to explain that he only came for Kai, but he was stunned. Those villagers couldn't see the boy standing right in front of them. He smirks, already itching to unleash his magic and crush those peasants into nothing, only to realize his power was totally wiped out. Kaikulai leans in and tells you the truth. This whole land is a magic dead zone, like the power gets strangled the moment it enters. With just a sliver of magic left, the mage gets slammed from all sides by enraged farmers. They're just simple tools, but they still smash any powerless mage like they're nothing. He can't swallow this humiliating defeat. He refuses to let it stand. But his pride stands no chance against their shovels and hoes. Once that last threat is crushed, Enel smirks and tells them the villagers finally learned a hard lesson about just how dangerous men can be. Later, Abyss hangs her head, convinced she let her master down, but Kai steps in fast, telling her she was perfect, and that's exactly why they won. She practically begs for a hug just to steady her heart. leaving the other girls in stunned disbelief and laughing their heads off at how bold it was. Yuri Cecil speaks up for everyone, throws Kai a huge thank you, and then drops the bombshell. She demands he take all of them as his slaves. Only one thing can keep you safe from your old masters, explain everything. Flustered, Kai blurts that he's no merchant at all, and then admits his home is a deserted island. The displaced people can't stop thinking about starting over and forging a brand new land from nothing. Kai agrees, but only if they swear off revenge for good, no thoughts, no excuses. Yuri Cecil drops her head in defeat and admits she's done with revenge, there's just no point anymore. With their pack shut tight, Kai charges forward and guides them straight into a weird, spinning portal. That whisks them straight to his home. Then the moment they arrive, a tearful fox girl named Ren crashes into him. Left behind, drowning in loneliness while he was gone. Once the greetings are out of the way, things finally start to get wild. Kai steps up and addresses every single one of them, fresh faces and old friends alike. He points out at the barren horizon and belts out a dramatic claim. This is an island with nothing on it. And together they'll forge it all, fields, wells, and a brand new home from the ground up. They're carving out a brand new country, an open home where everyone can finally come back. The tired travelers stared at the chance to forge a whole new world, and hope lit them up like fire. Abyss vows to stay loyal to her master, no matter what happens to her family. Yuri Cecil grabs Kai's hand and begs him to help them build a country where nobody will ever have to be unhappy again. Right as she finally gets to breathe and feel it all, another girl suddenly steps in and declares she'll do her best to be his wife, and the whole group gets slammed with shock. Their brand new life sparks on this tiny patch of land that's been chosen for greatness. The island crackles with fresh excitement as the villagers trade whispers about their newest arrivals. Abyss-chan, the Demon of Legends girl, looks terrifying, but her heart is pure, nothing like the monsters those old-school stories warned you about. But the real shock hit when Ren-chan, beastman or not, burst into the scene in a flash of fire. She's getting mobbed by women who gush that she's strong, sweet, adorable, and insanely fluffy, and the whole time her cheeks burn with embarrassed blush. Kai watches his community keep growing, and for now everything's running smooth, yet deep down he's desperate for new shoes. With grit in his eyes, he rallies everyone and officially kicks off the very first Islander Council meeting. Requests hit the moment everything goes through: more toilets, a real bath, fishing gear, farming tools, and above everything else, meat. Kai rubs the back of his head and realizes Tenohira can fix a few things, but plumbing is a total nightmare. Right then, Yuri Cecil strides forward and slices through the chaos like she owns the room, declaring straight up that to be a country you need three things: land, the power that rules it, and citizens. Kai can't stop thinking this island is theirs to claim, and the magicians are the muscle that gives them power. But their population's barely anything, so he can't help but wonder if a way to grow citizens fast even exists. Yuri flashes a sly smile and tells him there's a downright obvious method, and it all hinges on how much effort he's willing to put in. She stops cold with a dramatic pause, kills the noise in the crowd, then drops the solution: making babies. Kai's mind instantly fries as the villagers lock onto him, frozen in pure stunned silence. Yuri keeps pushing, insisting that if he's going to wear the crown in this new land, his most important job is to build an heir. She claims, with royal blood of the Mondial Principality in her veins, she's the perfect match for the job, and Kai just melts into a blushing, stammering wreck. Flooded with emotion, he can barely force out a shaky agreement. Then she demands he call her Yuri, and it only cranks up his confusion about what she's really after, leaving him stunned, wondering if this is some twisted royal duty he'll never, ever understand. Soon enough, the conversation shifts gears and lands on housing. Yuri casually pitches the idea of her and Sarah moving in with him, and Kai's just like, "Wait, are you serious?" because his place is already packed to the ceiling. He shuts down the talk and snaps that those flimsy huts won't make it through winter. They've got to build real houses, and fast. A woman who grew up around carpentry, thanks to her family, steps in, ready to help right away. Kai can't hold it in. He bursts out excitedly that they're building 10 houses for everyone. Yuri Skoff swallowed his pride and laid out his humble plan, claiming a king doesn't need a whole kingdom of buildings, just one massive grand castle where everyone can live side by side. Kai's mind gets absolutely blown away by the massive scale of her vision. She insists that with just 14 people, it's way more practical to run one big building than to juggle 10 smaller ones. She paints a stunning picture of one splendid castle, calling it a home they can always come back to and a blazing symbol of their courage. Her words hit Kai like a lightning bolt, and suddenly he gets it. She's right, it's not about the function, it's about building a place that feels like home, where nobody has to feel alone. With a massive new plan burning in his mind, Kai races to Tenohira to get everything ready. He's immediately slammed with excitement. Enel grins ear to ear and yells that the village has finally hit level 20. While he's still wondering what he'll get, 3 brand new elves suddenly pop into existence right in front of him. Kuromo, the new elf, steps in and introduces herself as Enel's younger sister, then immediately reveals she's a support elf who specializes in clothes. She's probably already bragging about how useful she is, dragging her sister by saying all she ever does is eat. Enel snaps back hard, insisting her job is simple: hunt down food, then test it for poison and nutrition. Kai admits he'd already suspected it in the first place. Kuromo swears she'll whip up an outfit in just 3 Tenohira days, so Kai wastes no time and immediately asks for a pair of tough, sturdy leather boots. Grinning from ear to ear, he dashes off to grab everyone's foot measurements. Then Enel spills a system message. Turns out Palmtop's pioneering village didn't just grow, it became a magical hidden village. At last, they finally brought magicians onto the island, and that's when new functions, like seed synthesis, lit up and the whole idea of mana was born. So now they can forge warrior guns that hit even harder, stronger than ever. Kai's gonna have to sit tight until the next level up before he can test it. 3 days later, Kuromo finally unveils the finished boots, and their pure craftsmanship, straight-up art. No metal, no problem. She stitched together buffalo bones into eyelids and snapped monster nails in as rivets, forging footwear so tough it felt unstoppable. Kai snaps them on, and it clicks into place like it was made just for them. He plops down in his seat, smug grinning like he owns the world, staring in awe at his brand new gear. Right then, Sarah bursts in and shouts that the villagers desperately need a well or an aqueduct to keep their farms alive. Her words hit Kai like lightning, then he shoots forward, grabs her hands tight and blurts out his thanks. It's not just water they're after, it's the clay underneath, because with it they can shape pottery. They haul water with jugs and earthen pots, then cook up real, proper food like it's their lifeline. His past life memories only reach so far, leaving his knowledge painfully incomplete. But good news, Carpenter's family also trades in pottery, and she totally knows how to enamel it. First you've got to hunt down the clay itself, except Abyss has never laid eyes on it before. They race toward the river, praying to spot a swampy patch where the clay would be exposed. The warrior Kunz lunges into the river, bursts back out caked in mud, but something about it still doesn't feel right. Guilt gnaws at Kai as he wishes he'd grabbed Ren to translate, so he does his best, groping for words to describe that gooey, ash-colored dirt. And somehow they always manage to understand. As they push farther down the river, hunting for answers, a warrior bursts out of the water in a flash, triumph blazing, as she proudly grips a basket packed with the perfect clay. Kai scoops up a heap, tests it in his hands, and finds it soft, smooth, and actually usable. Abyss heaps praise on his own knowledge, but deep down he fumes over how half-baked it all really is. Back in the village, they start grinding and shaping the clay into something real. Enel smirks and yells that their main plates are banana leaves right now, so they've got to kill and fast. Kai flashes back to this wild multi-chambered climbing kiln he saw on TV. With the villagers' bread oven wisdom guiding them, they jump right into action. After days of brutal toil, the job is finally done, the killing is complete. On a break from building the castle, Ren and Kai pull Kai aside to show off their doll-like companions, and to everyone's shock, those little things move with crazy agility. As they stride through the village, watching it grow bigger with every step. Seeing whole families everywhere hits Ki like a wave. Suddenly she's aching to go home, and her mind won't stop racing back to her parents. Kai swears he'll find her hometown, and deep down he knows that vow has to be kept, no matter how brutal the journey gets. He rushes in to comfort her, insisting that her kind parents must have been crushed with grief when she vanished. Later, Kai rallies everyone together, itching to watch their faces light up the moment they see real magic with their own eyes. Enel throws Ren into the spotlight, roaring that he's the legendary Hellfire mage everyone fears. The villagers stare in total shock at the sweet little girl, like they can't believe what they're seeing. But Kai leans in and whispers encouragement, urging her to strike the match and light it up. Ren hurls a raging torrent of fire, and the kill roars into action, leaving the crowd staring in pure disbelief. All right, now the real grind starts. The villagers roll up their sleeves and start smashing into the clay, shaping it with their own hands. Kai clocks Kai moving in silence, and he's blown away by how deadly good she is. She proudly raises a perfectly crafted Haniwa-style doll. Meanwhile, Sarah crafted a whole set of practical cookware, and her face lit up with pure joy. After firing for 10 long hours, Enel tells them to stop. and then demands they cool the kiln slowly, letting it rest over an entire day. The very next morning, the villagers huddle together, holding their breath, waiting for it to finally happen. Kai can't help it, he sneaks a shaky peek into the kiln and yanks out a flawless baked bowl, absolute perfection, and somehow it works with way fewer disasters than he ever dreamed possible. The entire village explodes into cheers, calling it the birth of their brand new pottery industry. Even with the older villagers chiming in, reminding them this is only the start of a brutally long journey ahead. The fast-growing village of Tenohira hits its first real disaster. Water's running short, so everyone has to lug it in from the river, and Ren is absolutely fuming about it. For Kai, this is only the first spark in his massive plan to forge a self-sufficient nation where everyone can finally live in peace. His determination gets rocket-fueled by the worries of his friends, Keed especially, who keeps fretting that his safety is on the line, believing that his cuteness is the only shield he truly has. Just as he's locked in, a tiny ball of energy with pink hair barrels in, grabs him by the attention, yells Oni-Achin, and demands he come with her. She drags him to the clay storage shed with one mission burning in her eyes. She's determined to bake something in his village. As soon as Kai steps inside, he's hit with the jaw-dropping sight of a colossal British clay golem. The girl boldly calls herself another, bragging that she pulled it off, and Kai's eyes light up at once, because sure, it's just clay right now, but if he bakes it, it could turn into a serious power tool for forging their castle. He heaves the surprisingly heavy statue onto his back, then brushes off Keed's worry like a sudden cough is nothing, and orders Ren to guard her while she gets help from the villagers to fire up the golem. Later, as Kai kicks back and relaxes with the elves, he hears how the village's pottery skills are skyrocketing, turning out flawless work faster than anyone can keep up, all because Lamila's blessing is driving their projects to succeed every single time. The talk suddenly pivots to Sarah. She comes from noble blood, yet somehow that didn't stop her from mastering cooking like a true expert. Enel drops a simple truth on everyone: life's real joy hits hardest when the food is great. Just like clockwork, Sarah pops in and tells Kai to help her cook. Then she drops the bombshell that she's finally ready to level up their go-to food from potatoes. Kai is buzzing with excitement, practically jumping at the chance to help cook up a brand new dish with their ever-growing stash of ingredients. When he hands Sarah a bag of wheat flour, it's like the seeds of their future snap into place, and they start growing themselves. She's totally stunned by that blazing white color, like it's screaming against the deep brown flour she's always known. Kai, just as baffled, blurted that he'd used a normal millstone, until Enel shattered it all with the truth, and Kai's own perception started rewriting reality. Because he swore wheat flour was supposed to be white, his power straight up made it so, and it even coated the eggs they brought to the island, turning them safe to eat raw, a total mind-blowing miracle in a world that never does that. Kai's smug satisfaction hits hard when he finally sees how his half-baked knowledge is bending the world's rules to his will. He strides back to Sarah, confidently swearing those are top-tier flours. Then the plan crashes when he realizes they've got nothing to leaven the bread. A fast check confirms one brutal truth: Tenohira has nobody who makes bread. Kai finally cracks it. Turns out that wheat isn't for farming at all, it's for noodles. With a spark of inspiration, he blurts out that noodles beat bread, then grabs your attention and insists they switch to that right now. Sarah grins as memories of those noodles and Scorpa hit her, and she nods. Tell me we team up and we'll recreate that dish. Everyone bands together and dives in, sharing the mission and kneading out dough with unstoppable, cheerful determination. As the dough rests, Kai leans in and asks Sarah straight up, "Are you really happy here?" She flashes him a warm smile and tells him, "Even without my magic, I finally have a place I can call home, and best of all, I get to cook with you," forcing Kai to blush and then turning him away. That night he serves freshly made kamatama udon to everyone, especially a sick Ren, praying it'll warm her back up. The meal lands with a bang, pulling smiles onto every face and proving to Kai, once and for all, that food is one of life's greatest joys. Next morning, that relentless abyss slips in on Sarah's doorstep and demands, no, begs to learn how to cook. She blurts out that she's been feeling worthless lately, and now she's determined to win her master's heart with food. Sarah nods and jumps right in, kicking off her crash course with a simple omelet. Meanwhile, Kai's other project finally sparks to life. Kai bakes the clay figure, then presses her hands to it, pouring in an eerie, ethereal power. The golem's eyes ignite in a flash, and it jerks to life, standing up like it's been awakened. They named it Gold Chan on the spot, then slammed it straight into a performance test right away. A golem rockets across the village at a speed that'll make your jaw drop. Then he hoists a massive boulder like it's nothing, and Kai is left completely dumbstruck by the sheer power. He realizes the key's just like him. Illumila has blessed it, and its power follows her twisted, unmistakable logic. Buzzing with excitement over their fresh new asset, Kai announces, "We're taking this even further, we're making 2 more." 4 months vanish in a blink. Golems hammer and build a magnificent wooden house, their brand new castle, while the whole village surges with life around them. A wild party erupts to celebrate the moment it's finally finished. Anubis beams as she hands her very first successful dish to Kai, a mouth-watering omelet. While everyone's cheering, Yuri drags Kai to the head of the table and crowns him their king. Kai snaps the title into place, already blazing ahead in his mind to the winter that's coming and the brutal work waiting for him. That night, his kingly duties slam into chaos when he stumbles on Yuri, Abyss, and Sarah already in his bedroom, each of them fighting to be the one to curl up with him and keep the king warm. Blushing and panicking, Kai tries to slip away from their advances, only to totally misread what they meant. Yuri has him completely fooled, because he's about to find out what his leadership motives are really made of. The very next morning, Kai storms up to Yuri and demands answers about that mysterious blessing. She agrees, but only if he pays the price, one tight hug. Before he can even react, she surges forward and pins him to an invisible barrier. Pinned to the glowing wall, Yuri unleashes her power, a gift from the god of shields, and forges a divine barrier so solid it's basically impenetrable. A long time ago, a priest gathered kids and swore that God's blessings were true miracles, that real power was meant to protect people, while magic, that was the cruel force of destruction, the kind people used when conflict turned ugly. Right now, Yuri Cecil unleashes her own blessing, and it hits with a brutally surprising, combative power. She leans in and tells Kai that her war maiden sanctuary throws up an invisible wall, so solid it can't be breached. Kai is stunned by how powerful it is, but Yuri coyly casually reveals she can stretch its tiny range even further. Her face hardens as she slams the barrier into place, trapping Kai and pinning him to a wall of invisible force, and she leans in to whisper that he's not going anywhere. With a mischievous giggle, she declares he's the perfect target to test her skills on. Right then, Abyss pops up outside the room, shocked to find them there, yet somehow can't make out a single sound. That sanctuary's soundproofing is the whole deal, and it has just one crack in it. Confused, Abyss slams her hands against the invisible partition, prompting Yuri to ruthlessly blow a kiss at the flustered. Abyss totally misreads everything, convinced Kai is in real trouble. With protective fury blazing, she snaps her power loose and hammers her fist into the barrier. But the attack fizzles out before it can land a single hit. The war forged in Sanctuary shrugs off everything. Physical blows and magical assaults alike can't touch it. Kai spiraled into panic, screaming at Yuri to shut down the ability, like the Abyss had grabbed it and decided this was a real emergency. Meanwhile, Yuri stays icy and flat out ignores every fear that hits him. After unleashing her furious assault, Abyss crumples to the ground, completely drained. Kai hounds Yuri to hurry and drop the barrier because he's got his chance, but she yanks him closer, refuses flat out, and whispers that she still hasn't told him the one thing that matters. His desperation spikes when that biscuit backs up, crackling with power as it charges to turn the whole building to ash. He rips into Yuri, screaming that she's about to burn every last one of them. At last, he snatched her in his grip and roared out her full name, Yuri Cecil. With a crushed, resigned stare, Yuri finally gives in, no choices left, so she shuts down the barrier. The second she's free, Abyss rockets to her master, squeezing him in a ferocious, bone-rattling embrace. She tells him she snapped into action because he looked wrecked, and all Kai can do is push back and insist he's really okay. Yuri coldly tells Abyss, Kai's going to snap and get sick of your overprotective act. Telling him straight up that is king, he can't let personal feelings blur his call on where to commit every combat asset. Kai softly grabs Abyss's hand, snatching it right out from under Yuri's icy judgment. He can't stop thinking about it. Abyss isn't just a place. It's a savior, a friend, and even a combat doll that's been waiting for 1,000 years. He slams the truth down hard. She's family. Yuri instantly jumps to the wrong conclusion. If they're family, she's basically implying Abyss could marry him legally, and he could take her and Sarah along too. Kai panics and blurts out that he's not in that kind of relationship with any of them, at least not yet. Abyss leans in and whispers, asking, "So, when are you finally going to get tired of me?" Kai gazes at her with warmth, vows he won't try to change her, and tells her to just be exactly herself, which earns him yet another clingy hug, while Yuri just watches from the side and mutters that he's the one who's way too overprotective. Later, Lin bursts in, already sensing the massive magical energy crackling from their explosive lovers' fight. The talk pivots to Kai's own blessing, an insane power that builds a whole village, spits out endless resources, and lets him teleport instantly, and Yuri admits she's never, ever heard of anything close to it. Kai finally decides to drop the truth, then he leans in and warns them, this is a secret that could get us all killed. He reveals the god who handed him his blessing, and it's a lame one. A power-hungry deity gets labeled an evil god by the temple. Every kid who gets Lamilla's blessing is thrown onto this island to rot and die. Kai explains that during his blessing ceremony, they snatched him, and then, just like that, they left him stranded here. Just like Kid, who can bring dolls to life, his power is another wild, incredible gift bestowed by a Lamella. He's convinced the Farley religion didn't just miss them, they purposely buried the truth about multiple subordinate gods. To the world, branding a Lamilla is evil, so they can hunt the kids they claim are blessed by them. Big towns host the blessing ceremonies, so the cloaked inquisitor can scoop up all the children in one go. Lynn's stomach drops as she realizes the inquisitor is going to find his way to the island sooner or later, and that thought terrifies her. Abyss adds that a ship shows up every spring to toss more children overboard, and she's stuck there, baffled, wondering why they don't just kill them outright. Fire sparks in Kai's eyes as he vows to live with everything he's got, and demands that every one of the abandoned kids get to live too. He tells you that's the first reason he's desperate to build a country right here. The whole group goes quiet and finally accepts the truth. If the temple finds out they're alive, it'll go from threat to full-blown nightmare. And Yuri decides their new country has to rise, louder, stronger, and untouchable. Later, Kai crumples onto his bed, and the weight of what's coming crushes his chest. His thoughts spiral back to his old life, weak, helpless, trapped in a hospital, fighting just to stay alive, and still powerless to even claim his own right to live. Just as he starts getting lost in his own head, Yuri and Abyss jump him, tackling him playfully and pinning him to the floor. Both of them fought tooth and nail to shield him. He shoots a grateful grin at the blushing Abyss for the outcome she delivered. Then he tells her to stop hating Yuri, because Yuri is the one who's kept their people united. They grappled with the reality that they needed real military power. He suddenly realizes they're sitting on nothing, no raw materials like iron. He grills Enel about weapons. Then Enel drops the bombshell that traveling merchants have already been rolling into the village, trading the ironworks they need. Enel whips his finger toward a whole new way out, seed synthesis. Kai cups 2 red seeds together in his hands, then presses them as if he's about to ignite something big. They glow fiercely and fuse into one single purple seed. Enel smirks and congratulates him, then declares that the purple seed is about to grow a ruthless warrior, count 2. With a victorious grin, she announces, loud and proud, that religion has finally been born right in the village. Leaving Kai so confused his brain felt like it was short-circuiting. A few days ago, Kai was just wandering through Tenohira village, soaking in the fact that this place had grown into a real, thriving settlement. But as he was gone, weird things started to crawl inside a workshop. A young girl froze when a creaking door suddenly sprang to life. Then a peddler showed up out of nowhere, and she erupted in terror, screaming at the top of her lungs. She tried to tell them she'd felt something eerie in the air, the same presence the village elders always warned about, but they brushed off her fear until a hose started drifting in midair like it was alive, hanging there ominously. Then every single tool in the shop erupted into motion, clattering to life all by itself. Later, Enel grins and congratulates Kai, declaring that all those spooky stories about floating objects and missing food finally lit the spark of religion in the village. She snaps that because he taught those villagers these pranks, about 80% of this new faith is on him. Kai's jaw drops in horror as he blurts out, "Wait, are you actually worshipping me like I'm some evil god of mischief?" But Enel cuts in and says she credited Kai, because he hauled supplies in, pitched in nonstop, and helped the village bloom. He's completely stunned by her wild, bizarre explanation. He starts to doubt showing himself, because he knows this whole world is just his power made real, and it'll crumble the second he dies. The elves snapped into action the moment they understood what was at stake, begging him to cling to life and swearing they'd back him with everything they had. She reminded him, right in the heat of the moment, that their destinies were knotted together for good. At the unveiling ceremony for his statue, his heart drops through the floor, because the masterpiece is a crude, ridiculous thing of him, clutching an orange, leaving him reeling in shock as Enel smirks right beside him. She reveals their new monotheistic religion, Kai, their god of creation, who showers them with gifts and then can't resist pulling prank after prank. It hits him like a cruel joke. This man who got banished for his faith is now the one people bow to. Later, while they were scrambling for resources, the OSIS stone axe split the log into shattering pieces. Kai scans their fields, realizing the tools they have just won't cut it, and vows to get everything they need, enough to farm, enough to stand their ground, and plenty of firewood to survive the brutal winter coming. As the chilly nights begin to dry out, Abyss barges into his room, a sly offer on his lips, "Let me warm you up." Kai politely shuts her down, reminding her he's got his own room. Then she grins and jokes that she's only protecting him from dropping dead in his sleep. Panicked to get away, he stumbles, then face plants hard on the floor. Right as the embarrassment hits, Enel and the other elves smash through the door, laughing and celebrating like mad because they just hit level 25. This epic level up doesn't just boost him, it unlocks a brand new item, telepathy. They instantly realize this isn't some game for laughs, it's a real window to the outside world, showing them everything Kai's ability lets them see the moment he activates it. Kai is bursting with excitement until Enel points out the truth, and joy curdles into pure horror while he gets an open, clear view of every single thing he's doing. She flips it on in a burst of excitement, and there it is, an active live feed of Abyss, peacefully asleep in her bed. Enel doesn't waste a second, he needles him nonstop, yelling "Master's futon" like it's a cruel nickname, and kept pushing him to ruin her fun. "Go on, spoil her." Kai finally gives in, dashes up to her room, and shoves him into a blazing warm embrace the moment he's inside. 2 years vanish in the blink of an eye, and the village keeps booming like nothing can stop it. Kai can't shake the feeling that something vital is missing. His thoughts get yanked to a stop when Sarah rushes up to him, pale as a ghost and burning with fever. He crumpled to the ground from a sudden, brutal illness. After they tuck her in and put her to bed, Kai's gut clenches as he frets that the sickness is spreading, and if it worsens, it could turn fatal for all of them. He finally discovers the local temple has the real medicine he needs, but the price is so brutal they could never, ever pay it. Responsibility slams into him like a wrecking ball, because he brought them all here, and every life hangs on his next move. The villagers swarm around him, insisting he shouldn't fret, because it's all thanks to him they've got warm homes, full bellies, and everyone will make it through the winter. Their unbreakable resolve fuels his courage, and Yuri snaps him into the next deadly move, build their military power fast before anyone spots them and turns them into bodies. Kai nods along and the truth hits hard, they need a real map of the world. He orders Abyss to put every single thing she knows onto paper. And she unveils a ridiculously detailed map so breathtaking it shuts everyone up. With everything they know, they lock onto the Magni Federation as their next target, because that's where they can finally get the iron they desperately need. Right before they set sail, little Keed throws a desperate plea out, begging to come with them so she can hunt for her family. Kai hits on a genius plan, blurts out his teleportation power, and swears that as soon as he drives a stake across the ocean, he'll take her straight to the city. Her eyes blaze with fresh hope. Feeling pumped, Keed decides to build a huge, cozy bath for everyone to enjoy while he's away. Spring finally bursts in, and Kai, Abyss, and Ren launch their brand new boat, then rip out on a shopping run to the Magni Federation, ready to take on whatever the world throws at them. Kai and his friends take a quick breath of peace, sipping fresh juice, while Abyss sits off to the side, bored stiff, sulking like her patience is running out. Their break lasts for nothing, just 2 days after they leave their island, and the sea finally breaks Kai, wiping him out completely until, through the chaos, they spot land. All you see for miles are brutal, sheer cliffs with nowhere to go. His fox-eared buddy caught a whole pack of monsters crawling up the mountain, so he ditched the detour and chose the brutal shortcut straight over. With one sharp command, Kai launches Abyss straight up the impossible cliff, driving him to grab a rope and lock it in. While Abyss makes climbing look effortless, Kai's ascent turns into a humiliating nightmare. Snakes strike him out of nowhere, and he tumbles into a filthy pool of sludge. He finally gets it, the rope was never for anyone else. He was the one who needed it all along. When the girls pitch a detour, he digs in his heels and refuses, snarling that their offer to clear the path is nothing but cheating. The girls are left to fend for themselves, and the next second, ferocious ape-like beasts come charging in and surround them. They stare down the monsters with pure, boiling annoyance, then explode into a coordinated frenzy, unleashing a whirlwind of destruction and ripping them to shreds. From a safe distance, Kai casually watches as they take care of business. Once the signal hits, he blurts out thanks, then charges forward again on the far safer road ahead. As they push deeper, doubt claws at him. Maybe this town isn't real at all, because it feels like they're just marching in circles. Abyss leans in and reassures him. She's got them, they're almost at the top, and her flawless internal navigation proves it. Suddenly, a shadow crashes over them like a nightmare. She's no monster, this winged, half-human girl glides down from the sky like she owns the clouds. She drops onto the mountain before the stunned crowd and fires off. "What are you doing here? This place is strictly off limits." Kai says they're lost travelers, then everything turns awkward fast when she asks him if his companions are his slaves. He recoils at the idea and snaps back, loud and unmistakable, "They're my family." The winged girl Libelle flaps up and introduces herself, then offers them a warm place to sleep in her village, and Kai, gratefully accepts without hesitation. She barrels through the forest, telling them that this mountain is sacred ground, and then she lines in, begging them to keep her village hidden. Kai can't believe she's trusting a total stranger, but she only grins and says he looks like a good guy, leaving Kai completely stunned by how carefree she is. They finally reached a village of battered huts, simple, worn down, and falling apart. It looks so bleak that his companion begs them to bail, but Kai clenches his jaw and refuses to move. Three grim-faced winged elders step in and blast him with questions the second they spot him. As Kai scans the village, unease crawls up his spine, because Libelle is the only girl in the entire place. The elders press again, "Are your friends your slaves?" And Libelle snaps back that their fears come from one ugly truth: beast men get enslaved all the time by cruel, wicked people. Trusting him so easily is downright disarming. While they're out exploring, Kai spots a heavy black rock, and his stomach drops when he realizes it's not stone at all, but top-tier iron. He stumbles on whole crates of it, an absolutely secret fortune tucked away in a poverty-stricken village. The elder nods, saying they'll dig it up for trade, and right then, Kai's inner merchant snaps awake. He jumps in right away and offers to buy all of their stock, promising a deal so much better than the contract they're stuck with. But the elder stalls whenever promises come up, and the future feels foggy, so Kai can't help wondering why a village stacked with wealth still crumbles in squalor. For dinner, Label shoves a watery porridge in front of them, barely anything more than rice water. Kai forces a grin onto his face, thanks her quick, then hands her a giant potato straight from his own stash. Label bursts with joy and sprints off to share the little feast with her people. That night, Kai sat there thinking, one bite of the porridge and he swore it tasted salty, like it had been cooked with tears. His companions jolt him awake out of nowhere because they can feel an approaching presence. Libelle is shaking them awake in the dead of night, screaming, "Wake up." She snaps that the folks from the nearby town are already at the mountain's entrance, and if they want to keep their secret alive, they've got to hustle Kai's group out of there right now. As a final goodbye, Kai slams a huge pot of potatoes into their hands, praying it'll tame their hunger and keep everyone fed. They ride a terrifying, hacked-together slingshot that flings them down the mountain like a projectile. While his friends are soaked in the thrill, Kai is losing his mind, screaming in terror the whole way down. Right after the landing, they start heckling him, calling him a total scaredy cat, while they throw Libelle and the winged men one last, brutal farewell. They come flying into Zach's bustling town, one of the biggest pilgrimage hubs around. After scarfing down food, Kai hears from a vendor that the government guild controls every trade and sets the prices in stone. He realizes he can't just set up shop and call it a day, so he decides to scout for answers first, and he summons his other partner, Keed. She finally escapes the island, and pure excitement lights up her face as she dives into a brand new world. Kai prays this town feels familiar, then she and the others gear up to hit the streets and grill the crowds for any clues that could point them to Keed's long-lost hometown. Kai and his crew finally step into a loud, crowded port town, nothing like their humble village, and they're here to cash in on every ounce of hard work. With her rare gift, Ren effortlessly makes the water buffalo and sheep obey her, leaving everyone else staring in pure disbelief. Kai strides up to the guild official like he owns the place, ready to dump their entire livestock stock for produce, and he explains they've sailed in from a far-off island just to make it here. As their goods get appraised, their eyes snap to the skyline. Towering over everything is the majestic Saintess Rukia Cathedral, a holy pilgrimage spot that calls to every believer. The name hits Kai like a punch. His face falls as he blurts to Ren that it's the same name as his sister, Cade, and that single word drags his painful quest right back to the surface. Sensing the perfect opening, Kai decides they're going to dig into Cade's origins while they're right here, because this is their chance to chase two rabbits at once. The sale absolutely crushes it. Those rare oranges get snapped up for top dollar, raking in so much cash they can build a whole new building from scratch. First things first, they've got to grab the medicine and iron before they can even start digging into Keed's past. Their search suddenly gets a huge jolt when they stumble onto a band of pilgrims. Then one of them spots the name of Keed's hometown and drops the bombshell. It's the capital of the Lime League Empire. That one clue hits like a breakthrough, like a light piercing through their endless search, and when the tears start, Kide chokes out a trembling question. Will she ever see her parents again? Kai squeezes her hand and tells her, softly but surely, that the road is still long, yet they've finally landed their first real step forward. Fueled by fresh resolve, Kai lines up to grab everything they need. Then, the very next day, a crushing snag slams the plan to pieces. The merchant snaps the truth at him. Every bit of iron trade is controlled by the temple, shattering the pretty mask of this so-called holy state. Kai snaps to the grim truth in seconds. The temple isn't just faith at all. It's a rotten power that tightens its grip on the whole federation of islands by hoarding the resources, and he instantly realizes they're probably squeezing the winged men for their iron. His gut told him to hit the town blacksmith, but a priest cold-shouldered him like he was nothing, just as a temple wagon rolled in. His eyes snapped to a familiar jar sitting inside the wagon, the same one he'd handed to Label's village as a goodwill offering. Blood drains from his face when he realizes the iron being loaded is theirs. One look, and his worst fears come true. He storms back to their inn, shoves past a bewildered Ren, slaps their magical surveillance screen to life, and locks onto the bishop inside the temple. They stare in pure horror as the vile bishop sneers about the winged men, brags that the hostages aren't enough, and lays out a plan to squeeze them for every last resource before the deadline hits. He has zero plan to bring the hostages back, especially not while they're this malnourished. And then he even has the nerve to call Kai's gift a stolen item, screaming that everyone in town already thinks the winged men are extinct. The full ruthless evil of it crushes down on Kai. His face goes stone cold, and his eyes get swallowed by a pitch-black rage. He snarls that those temple bastards are total garbage, then snaps at Ren to get out right now. They slam a halt on the wagon in the street, and Ren's sharp senses instantly catch the stench of trouble, libel pouring from inside. Kai barrels past the guard's frantic screams and tells Ren to scare them off. She snaps her hand out and unleashes a terrifying vortex of hellfire, proving she's a beastman magician, and the guards stagger back in pure, stunned shock. Still dazed from the shock, the guards can't react as Kai smashes open the wagon, and there's Libel, tied up tight and screaming in terror. He yanks her into his arms just as her sobs turn to relief, and she clings to him like he's the only thing keeping her safe. But their rescue instantly draws a mob of locals. Yet instead of thanks, terror and rage explode on their faces as they howl at the monsters to get out of their sacred human city. Ren's fury spikes at their ignorance, but Kai barks an order, make a diversion, and tells her to blast something flashy up into the sky. She blasts a brilliant burst of flame into the sky, and it erupts overhead so hard everyone's eyes snap to her at once. In that split second of distraction, they vanish, yanking the whole wagon with them, so the bishop's men are left staring, confused and furious. Label stumbles into a weird, calm pocket of reality, and Kai tells her, "Relax, you're safe inside my blessed world, Tenohira Kaida Kimura," where he's already secured the stolen iron and the horses. Back in the real world, they regroup at the inn, and Ren flashes a sinister grin as she admits her evil side is itching to return and massacre that hateful crowd. Label, finally steady, tells the nightmare that hit after Kai vanished from her village. Temple officials showed up, mocked the winged men's desperate hunt for iron, and shut the doors on every plea to see their captive families. They snatched Kai's gift and, just to twist the knife, wrecked their precious food supply in one final, vicious act. They dragged her away while ropes bit into her wrists, and her voice shattered as she gasped that this only happened because they're weak. A roaring crowd has piled up outside the inn, like the whole town just showed up at once. Tightening the grip on his survival, Kai demands an escape plan, then orders Abyss to slip out of the city on foot to dodge attention, hugging her one last time as she dissolves into the streets. Meanwhile, the bishop twists the panicked crowd like puppets, brushing off their screams about beast men and winged men as pure fantasy and blatant lies. He tells them his divine soldiers are already on the march, and then laughs that winged men aren't real, not even for a second. But behind closed doors, his voice goes ice cold. He calls in a deadly-looking woman named Mariella and warns her that the divine soldiers may not be enough. He orders her to hunt the intruders, dropping details about a beastman mage and a blessed man, and the moment that hint of a terrifying unknown enemy hits, excitement flares in the assassin's eyes. A heart-wrenching reunion explodes in tears. The instant Label's cry rings out for her father. She pulled him into a tight hug, then slammed him with devastating news. She breaks down in tears, swearing they've all been tricked, that the temple never planned to free them at all, and then she tells everyone Kai was the one who tore her out of their grasp. While the other winged men stare in stunned disbelief. Kai takes a step forward, faces the brutal truth, and declares it's way past time to rescue their women and finally leave this place for good. The winged men were left speechless, staring at the temple that once sheltered them, shocked it had turned this rotten. For generations, their people have been hunted by humans, chained up as slaves, forced to perform like living trophies in public showcases. And the Farley Doctrine handed them a home, one where humans were forbidden to step inside. But Liebel swears it was a total lie, a one-year deal they never planned to honor. The shocking truth she overheard while her hands were still bound. Kai snaps everything into place. She realizes they didn't kidnap her by chance, because her blessing from the god Mithra lets her track down iron. Shattered by the betrayal, Liebel finally breaks. She can't hold her sorrow back anymore. She screams that she's done flying only at night, sick of living in fear. She's worn herself to the bone for scraps while her family is ripped apart. Kai watches with steel in his eyes and grim determination. Ren suddenly snapped her head toward the temple. Those sharp ears of hers caught the unmistakable crunch of soldiers closing in. They've got roughly 30 minutes to spare before they finally roll up. Kai decides to slip into hiding for now and keep his eyes locked on everything. Inside his head, a full-on war rages. Ren isn't mincing words. Just kill them all, then dump the bodies for the monsters. But Kai jerks back from the thought, straight up admitting he's not ready to take a life. He knows the blessed ones don't play fair, and they'll outsmart you in a heartbeat. So he hatches a plan, telling Abyss to get ready and blast them with an electric shock. Knockout power, no mercy. Then he whips around to Liebel and promises her this: if the talks crash, he'll swoop in to rescue her mother and the others, bringing them back to his village for a fresh start, with real food, wild nature, and the freedom to finally lie at peace. Moved by his kindness to someone he could have walked past and ignored, Liebel blurts out, "Tell me what I can do," while Kai can't stop wondering, can her blessing of search dig up more than just iron? With fresh fire in her heart, she unleashes her power, summoning the hawk, the cormorant, and the god through her eyes. A provision zooms through the jungle like it's on a mission. And she blurts out in pure excitement that she spots them, soldiers, sure, but also two blessed ones, and one of them is right there, facing her. The camera snaps to the temple crew slogging through the blazing jungle, following a long-haired woman who keeps swatting insects and grumbling the whole way. When a monster comes crashing in and starts tearing everything apart, her tiny companion wipes it out with one effortless touch, like a cold warning flare for how dangerous they really are. Before long, the soldiers finally crash into the village of the winged men. And Mariella, ice in her eyes, doesn't waste a second as she coldly orders them to bring out the beastmen and their master. Her eyes pin Label in place, and with a sharp, condescending snarl, she taunts her as her little birdie. Liebel tries to act clueless, but Mariella's patience snaps fast, and she orders her soldiers to snatch the girl right away. When Liebel's father objects, Mariella's expression snaps into a wicked grin, and she swears she'll take every ounce of her anger out on him. She leaned in and whispered the name of her horrifying power, soul-bending puppeteer. Right when she lunges to strike, Abyss crackles out of the shadows with a brutal burst of electricity, dropping her cold, unable to move. Kai and his crew burst out with surprise, and the whole reveal hits them like a punch. Then he storms straight up to the lead soldier and lies through his teeth, claiming he's got the eye of truth. Ren smirks and flashes a sign that exposes the lie. Kai strides in with unshakable confidence, shouting their real mission: slaughter every winged man and grab the females as their prize. Panic erupts across the soldiers the second they realize they've been exposed, and an archer snaps into position and draws back their bow. But Ran and Abyss blitz forward, smashing the battlefield with a brutal two-hit magical combo. The captain snarls an order: if they resist, his men are to execute them without hesitation. Kai's psychological warfare has already wrecked their morale, so he keeps pushing the captain, ripping apart every lie about the winged men being thieves. Prompting Liebel to scream in agony, they finally snapped, claiming they'd only ever followed orders, all while they'd been hiding in the mountains. Out of nowhere, dark energy blasts out from unconscious Mariella, like a nightmare breaking free. She rises up with a wicked grin and declares the mage is finally hers. She snatches control of Ren and forces her into a puppet. Kai stares in pure horror as Mariella commands her brand new doll to wipe out Abyss. Ren explodes forward and launches an attack on the spot. Mariella bursts into a manic cackle, taunting Kai about how it feels to be dying from your birds, taunting him to go ahead and ask what she'll do with the captured females. With a wicked grin, she says she'll sell them for a fortune, then casually sizes up Ren and slaps a price tag on his head: 10,000 gold coins. But her gloating gets snuffed out when she rambles about wanting to go home, and somehow still finds a way to brag. Ren suddenly loses it, grabs Mariella by the face, then slams her hard to the ground. He was never truly under her control, not for a second. Ren coolly tells a totally baffled Kai that one god's blessing can't be handed to someone who's already been marked by another. Now that the danger has been shut down for good, the winged men's leader rushes to Kai and unloads a huge apology for every second he ever doubted him. With a brand new fire burning in his chest, he declares they're done being weak and clueless, and that they're going to stand up and fight right beside him. With one goal blazing in their hearts, the whole crew shoots their hands up and cheers, ready to kick off the rescue mission. Kai rockets downward through the night sky, and pure terror crashes through him. He's screaming inside his own head, swearing he'll never get used to this. The fox girl grins and taunts, saying if she stays right by your side, the cat girl Abyss is gonna get jealous. But Abyss is laser-focused, clocking someone drop in from the sky on a parachute. Now it's hunt time, go find their enemies, while Liebel the harpy snaps on her divine sight and her glowing eyes burn with raw power. Her eyes cut through the dark, sweeping the land and locking onto the temple below. And she spots them on the spot, shouting that they've got 8 blessed ones hiding under the same roof. That's where they're locking up the captured winged women. Ren exhales in relief that they're alive, but she growls that the security is paper-thin. Then, right on cue, guards spot them from below. A storm of arrows slices through the air, and Kai clenches his teeth, remembering they said security had been tightened over the last year. Ren, make noise, he blurts it, already thinking 2 steps ahead, as he orders him to light up the temple for a full distraction. She hurls a colossal blaze ball that swallows the whole building in a blinding flash. With reconnaissance finally done, Kai snaps into action and orders a tactical retreat. Osa, he demands, memorize that location. Meanwhile, deep in the mountains, the winged men were hiding out, ready to strike at any moment. Label lanes in and demands to know, does her father really know for sure where they're headed next? He stares on with tired determination and finally admits it. He always believed hiding was the only way they could survive. But now that the temple is stripping them of everything, staying one more second makes no sense. Libel's face lights up. She doesn't want much at all. Stay with her family and head to Kai's place with everyone. Her father nods and promises her this. One day they'll soar free, but first, they have to earn it with a fight. In town, whispers are already flying. People swear the so-called extinct wingmen are real again. Even so, some locals shrug it off, swearing the bishop must have messed up. Their hushed whispers get ripped apart when a clergyman strides into the tavern, and he starts grilling them with questions. He snapped a stern reminder. St. Farley's teachings strictly outlaw discrimination against demahumans. The very next day, the winged men storm through the streets, banners blazing overhead as they roar for their wives and daughters to be brought back. Kai steps up in front of the pilgrims and tells them straight, the city's prejudice runs so deep they shoved the winged men into hiding and brutal hard labor, while their women were kept as hostages. He rips open the temple's grip on iron distribution, exposing every hidden lever they pull. While Ren frets that this protest might actually shake the world. Kai is dead sure it'll work. He's leaning on the foreign pilgrims who live the true teachings of equality. The clergyman from the Tavern B storms up to Kai and admits, I know this sounds unbelievable, but I can't just write it off as a lie. Kai slams the table and swears it's the truth, shouting that their wives and daughters are next, about to be sold off. He begs B to tell everyone among the other pilgrims, insisting they're all fellow believers of Farley, people just desperate to get their families back. B flashes a reassuring smile and agrees to cooperate. He whips around to face the crowd, and his voice snaps the pilgrims and townspeople into one unstoppable movement. Inside the cathedral, a corrupt bishop snarls at the noise while stuffing his own desires like he owns the place. When a panicked subordinate barges in, shouting at him to look outside. He's horrified by the huge crowd his aide has whipped into a frenzy, pilgrims and locals crashing together, all shouting for justice like they'll tear the city apart. The bishop's grand plans are collapsing, his soldiers can't hold back the winged men, and now their leader is standing right in front of him, eyes blazing, swearing they're done living under the temple's tyranny. The bishop bursts out from the sanctuary, chin lifted in arrogance, barking that the scene must stop right now. The winged man leader steps right up to him, calls out the fact that a whole year has passed, and demands he hand back his family, exactly like he promised. The bishop pretends he's clueless, snaps it all off as nonsense, and pushes the crowd to reject the devil's work. As his guards snapped into alarm, ready to move. Kai lunges forward and points at the bishop, shouting that he's ready to use force just to crush the truth. He dares the bishop if a single winged woman is ever found in that cathedral, will he finally confess to his crimes. The bishop only smirks and laughs the whole idea off. And just like that, Abyss vanishes into the dark, telling Kai to guard the others while she slips inside to check. The bishop stood there, utterly unshakable. They don't even notice Kai's team is already striking, using a teleportation marker to slip past the guards like it's nothing. Then he unleashed a furious, no-holds-barred assault. As the Asu warriors burst in from behind. As they crash through the prison doors, they burst into a room where the captive women are huddled together. Kai shows up and shouts that he's here to rescue them, only to hit them with the truth. They've been played and their husbands aren't. He shoots back and swears it was all a bishop's twisted lie. Their families are alive and right there. Wait. Outside, the bishop's denials spiral out of control. Then he finally erupts in a full-throated scream. There are no winged women here. Just then one lone feather floats down. Then the cathedral explodes with a sky full of freed women, soaring free into the open air. The crowd erupts in gasps as families are reunited in tears, right there where the heart breaks. Their joyous contrast left the bishop frozen in stunned silence. Kai and Ren stride forward, trapping the disgraced bishop in the corner and demanding to know how he thinks he can talk his way out of this. The bishop dodges the blame and tries to pin it on his subordinate. But it's already over. B strides up and throws Kai a fierce congratulations for being. When Kai panics that judging the bishop feels impossible, Beast's smile instantly chills as he vows that justice will be delivered. He leans in and announces himself, Beat Clauser, the Inquisitor. And the bishop's world shatters. B drops another bombshell. Turns out the Empire is already plotting an invasion of Ravelda. For Kai, the moment time freezes hits, and he hears Inquisitor and invasion, all those brutal, and a terrifying realization hits him like a punch to the chest. Be the one who sent him to that island, and watch him lead the invasion straight back at his homeland. Be locks eyes with Kai and calls him Saint Kai from below. While praising the devotion he'd put his whole heart into. Shaken to the bone, Kai just stands there silent while the winged men thank him. Sensing his panic, Abyss yanks him into a tight, warm embrace and murmurs that it'll all be okay. Though he's still got the spinning going. Kai stares at the hopeful faces of the people he just saved, and something hard locks into place his resolve. With a brand new ally among the winged people, Kai and his community. A whole week has gone by since they arrived, and while the fresh newcomers finally get their footing, the emaciated Kai shuts down, drifting deep into his own thoughts like the world disappears. While he was out gathering firewood, Libel keyed in and discussed the strange mood like it was something dangerous. Keed frets that their sudden flood of numbers is weighing him down, but Libel catches something darker beneath it all. With her savior on her mind and her heart bursting with need to help, but before her reckless plan even gets going, Ren lunges in and yanks her by the legs, demanding she calm down. Broken by the defeat, Libel mutters that she just wants to make Kai feel better. A wild new idea hits, the bathhouse fires up, and Ren pushes them to get it running, anything to lift his spirit. Meanwhile, Kai sits alone on the cliffs with a fishing rod in his hand, but his thoughts are already off somewhere else. A single figure hijacks his mind, the Inquisitor. A man from the dusty book he devoured as a kid, nowhere to hide, just the one who unleashes the temple's brutal purges. A sickening thought hits him. If that man with those icy, contempt-filled eyes ever finds out the crushing weight of being their king, the one who brought them all here, presses down on him like a fate. He's drowning in this burden, and it feels like nobody's left in the world. Keith suddenly barges in and demands he come with her. No questions, no delays. Before you even blink, a golem lunges in and scoops him up. And hauls him straight into a building, still clinging to its construction scaffolding. Keed's horror-struck as he orders the golem to strip him and toss him in, like it's nothing. He protests like crazy, but they still fling him into the warm water anyway. Later, Kai stood watch with his crew, trading he grimly realizes this whole nightmare has been dragging on for more than 60 years. An entire Right then, Libel comes trotting back from her morning patrol, skies clear as day, no clouds on. Kai fires a warning at her, keep your eyes peeled, because even a puff of cooking smoke could. Their island life keeps getting wilder as an elf villager steps up proudly, and hands him a lump. They've got this weird meteor iron thing called asterisk asterisk amifugin asterisk asterisk, and it looks like it just sprouts straight out of the ground. As they stroll through the village, they spot Ren trying to teach magic to everyone. Total. Kai can't shake the envy clawing at his chest, wishing he could control fire and lightning just like that. But this calm morning gets ripped apart when Liebel rockets out of the sky in full panic. The ship's coming straight at them, screaming and all. Kai's thoughts spin a mile a minute as he blurts out question after question, but Yuri snaps his hands up and grabs Kai's face, forcing. Label steadied his words. Yeah, it's just one ship. Still, that pinprick speck on the horizon was determined to see it with his own eyes. Kai blasts into the sky on a swing whisked along by Liebel. They lean in as the little boat fires out a net into the sea. With her upgraded eyes, Label spots the truth fast. Just 5 regular fishermen on board. They refuse to gamble with an attack, and the boat finally slips away into the horizon, never once touching land. But that incident slams Kai awake, because now he knows he has to scramble and rethink the island's defenses, fast. The very next day, he storms into Enel's workshop to synthesize those warrior remains, conceding nothing, not even once, but the moment he swings that door open, boom, he's slammed with a surprise party. The girls erupt in cheers, pounding his back as he finally makes it to level 30. He whips his gaze to the village sign, only to see it glow with a fresh level up. And his jaw hits the floor in pure shock. Pioneer Village is gone, replaced by the village of the Mage of Hellfire, and somehow it's now Ren's village. A system notification suddenly rips through Kai's vision, and his humble village levels up. Then the name twists into something terrifying. The village of the Mage of Hellfire. Kai's jaw drops in shock, but Ren flashes a grin and straight up admits it's probably her fault, because a brand new special shopping feature just got unlocked, and she tells everyone, as this village grows, more craftsmen will show up. But right now, there's nothing to grab, so she perks up and tells them to take a stroll to check out the brand new iron products that are already hitting. They smash into the blacksmith's forge, where the air shakes with non-stop clanging and frantic work. A hulking old man barks orders at his apprentices, his booming voice shaking the air as they swing their hands. Then Kai's eyes went wide. His old boss roared like a storm and blasted a raging. Kai's eyes widen when he realizes these aren't just craftsmen, they're the village's. Ren tells him straight up, grab the regular stuff free, but special items cost money. Then she steers him to a statue of him standing there, crowned with offering. As Kai comes closer, mortification slams into him. Being treated like a god makes his face burn. A nearby kid squeals with pure joy that Kai-sama's finally here, and that he actually approved. Then the vibe flips from awkward worship to straight-up serious rule, and Kai rallies every single resident on the island. With the village booming, he declares it's time to choose their future, because the temple's shadow looms over them like a constant threat. He lays out the brutal truth: if the temple attacks, they won't spare a soul, so they'd better ditch the island altogether. But the people slam the door on hope, demi-humans swear they can't go, and everyone else shouts that they're still stuck guarding the children. Yuri steps forward, her voice shaking as she pleads with Kai to get them somewhere safe before. She squares up to him and demands an answer. Does the king really plan to ditch their country and leave his people? Kai's resolve snaps into iron. He declares he wants everyone to live in peace, because it isn't the place that makes the... He gives them the brutal choice: stay and fight a war they might lose, or walk away. Then he tells them, close your eyes and raise your... In the blink of an eye, every single hand across the island rockets straight up into the air. All 49 residents rallied behind him, choosing to stand by his side. Kai goes totally speechless, warning them the temple might have unleashed warriors who could have wiped out the entire... Their faith won't crack for a second. They're begging to live with him, the hero who saved them all, and they swear they'll fight. Rage crests in Kai's chest as he finally roars, I'll do my best, but I can't promise your safety. The crowd explodes into cheers, and that choice hits like a victory. Yuri flashes a smile and tells him that even a king has to make ruthless calls sometimes. Those words crash into him, yanking him back to a past life where he was weak, wasting away in a hospital bed. That memory rips at his resolve, stealing the drive to live this new life to the fullest, for himself and for... The war council kicks off and Kai lays it all out. Our strongest defense is the island itself, and we're turning the few landing... But he knows they can't survive a straight-up clash, so they've got to hunt down a quick escape route and map every step so they can plan it before it's too late. The boy shoots out a flawless map of the island on a giant hide in record time. And Kai decides they have to push into the untouched northern region too, because Abyss once felt a chilling magical. Abyss insists on it quietly, then drops a jaw-dropping truth. She was made there, a replicant forged. They push through the northern mountain journey and finally hit a crumbling man-made entrance, swallowed by wild trees. As the approach into the abyss jolts to a stop, chaotic magic erupts from the ruins and overwhelms everything in its path. Ren realizes it's a death trap, and with Kai's nod, he grabs Abyss and rockets back to the village at blinding speed. Ren barrels back just moments later, saying Abyss is okay, but she's got zero memory of what. Kai can't shake the feeling her memory was deliberately erased, and the moment it clicks, she realizes those ruins. They slam the brakes on the investigation for now, because Abyss needs to ride in. It hits him like his old tower defense game, but he knows. And just like that, a wild idea ignites. Then he starts blasting. The first one turns into a camouflage seed, slipping into place on the table like it was always meant to be there. Until the next one goes crystal clear. By the next day, those seeds erupted into brand new powerhouses, an all-element magician kun, a stealthy ninja kun, and an angel. These brand new creatures bolt the moment they're born, racing to greet their warrior brethren. Watching the moat crawl into place, Kai's mind snaps into motion. He turns to Kaide, the one who can toy with life itself, and asks if she can wake the tree. The second she nods and says she can, his thoughts explode. Then he blurts out, "Tell me, does your power..." With razor-sharp focus, she breathes life into the excavated dirt. Watch it surge forward and form a... Kai digs in and right on the shovel of dirt, draws a quick little face like he's leaving a secret behind. As soon as Kaide breathes life into it, a grinning, snake-shaped earth creature slithers. With this new crew, their construction is going to hit unstoppable mode, like nothing can slow them down. A wild, brilliant hope flares in Kaide's eyes, as the thought of finally meeting her parents again lights her up from the inside. Kaide sits alone, her heart sinking under the weight of... A heavy sadness swells in her eyes as she holds them close, whispering that desperate plea. She just wants to see her papa and mama again. The dolls wrap around her like comfort, whispering one truth. Her papa loves her so fiercely that he'd even pick a fight with the temple just to keep her safe. But doubts still crawl in. Kai, weirdly mature for someone just a year older, had already told her, no help is coming. The thought hits her hard and fresh tears spill out. But her fresh resolve surges through her as she stands tall, swearing she'll do everything in her power. Meanwhile, Kai locks in his scheme and tells Sarah he's heading straight to Scorpor for the next expedition. He finally spills his real motive. He's hunting the slave traitor there, praying he'll uncover. Later, he lays out his theory to Ren, replaying the moment the High Priestess's puppet skills couldn't be... He relives the interrogation of the captured mage, who spills that the collar isn't just any artifact. It's a magic sealing relic from it. You can only get rid of it if you know the exact... Kai's heart sinks with grim certainty. Marini from Scorpa, the slave trader, is right there. He tells Sarah, and when she begs him to track down Kaide's family too, he doesn't hesitate. He jumps right. When Kai jokes that they could someday travel alone, she's hit with an instant, blazing blush that won't fade. Just then Kaide comes sprinting in, all fired up, begging to try that very thing. Ran and Abyss just snagged the village shopping list, then they spot the crew heading. There, Kaide blasts her power into Kai's Santa Maria-chan, and the boat rockets across the water like it's tearing. Thrilled by this win, she leans in and vows she'll ride with him on his very next. Kai hesitates and warns her about the sea's deadly dangers, but she shuts him down, adamant as he finally gives in, realizing her power is pure gold, and she lights up like she just won the world. With her hope reignited, she digs even deeper, drives more power into the boat, and sends it slicing across. Back in the village, the elves huddled around a monitor, their jaws dropping as the vessel screamed away at impossible speed. The trip hammers them so hard that 4 days later, after a journey that should have taken just 11, they finally crawl to shore, and Kai collapses. He's ready to drop and collapse, but the elf snaps that she'll hunt him down and drag him out the moment he gets lazy. As they near the city of Scorpi, they tighten up and move like something's about to go wrong. Kai starts setting up an escape route with Abyss while the others rush to the market, but the moment Kaide, masked in shadow and hiding their faces, they slip into the roaring city like ghosts coming alive. Kai wastes zero time and starts hawking their livestock on the spot, boldly shouting they want 10 gold coins for a single cow. A merchant scoffs at Kai, but Kai just grins. His ironclad confidence and sharp negotiations snap the room into a full-blown bidding war, and he sells their entire stock for top dollar. With their pockets bulging, they rush into the village and buy everything they need, grapes, horses, and all the supplies. Kaya even catches Enel off guard by whipping out a custom-made fire sword just for him. Even though he thinks the name sounds lame, the second he tries it for real, pure shock hits, because it detonates into a huge blaze with zero magic from him at all. After their deal wrapped up, Kai, Sarah, Ren, and Abysshead stormed off toward the Morini slave trading house. They slip into the building and the silence hits like a punch, only to realize it's shut down tight. A woman blurts out that Master Morini bolted weeks ago. One glance at the map makes it obvious. Namal's right on the road to Keed's hometown, like fate laid it out for them. Sarah is bursting with excitement about teaming up for the hunt, so she asks Kai to let her come along, and Kai agrees without. That night they're shoved into a cramped room, and Kai gets squeezed in between his companions like there's zero breathing room. After breakfast the next morning, they burst out into the city streets. The moment they step into the tiny dining hall, Kai's blood turns to ice. With a smug grin, the man clocks him instantly. Yep, it's one of the slave trader's thugs. Kai and his crew realize they've been spotted as the mercenary leads them through the woods, pushing them toward a risky detour to dodge the Imperial camp. Kai is still on the fence about hiring the guy, and every thought screams. Fossil, an ex-Empire mage, slashes through the truth. His old mercenary crew is now battling their former boss in the war. Kai's suspicion gnaws harder and harder. Why would a mage, a priceless war asset everyone wants, be lying around? Fossil just smirks, clutching his mug, and says it plain, Kai beat him. He's got a gut feeling if he keeps chasing Kai, he'll finally stumble into the kind of heart-pounding fight he's been craving. Ren watches from the edge, eyes locked on him, and realizes the man's dead serious. With that, Kai locks in his decision. He checks that Fossil knows the way to Godier, and just like that, as they ride, Sarah leans in and grills Kai, asking if he's really sure about hiring a Kai leans in and reassures her, insisting the man seems genuinely trustworthy. He figures Fossil, mage, and probably a former aristocrat, would never bail on his own country just to chase a few coins. Kai's thoughts sprint ahead, picturing every threat that's coming, schemers lurking. To build a nation, you need people you can trust, yet even though he's not sure about Fossil, Sarah nods along, but she makes it clear, sure, trust my judgment, but we stay sharp and careful. With her head spinning over something far more dangerous, the slave collar kept clamped tight around her neck. 10 days later, the crew finally rolls into the loud, bustling port town of Namal. Fuzzle asks if they remember what old mercenary boss Morini looked like, but Kai and Kai stare back, totally. Fossil-sized or not, they decide their safest play is hitting the local bars first, because that old man is probably out there recruiting troops. In a crowded tavern, Morini slams his mug down, seething. He rants that the Empire has no navy, and that they're dragging their... Right then, Fuzzle casually strolls in, flashing the old man a relaxed greeting. Morini's men burst with joy, convinced Fossil has finally shown up to battle with them. But he shuts them down fast, saying he's there for his brand new employer. Kai steps forward, his mask hiding his face, and Fossil freezes, just long enough to be thrown off. Morini finally understands, and rage snaps across his face as he bellows, ordering his men to grab. Fossil strides right between them, flashes calm confidence, and says he's working for the boy now, then asks to borrow Morini for a price. In a quiet alley hidden from the world, Kai doesn't waste a second. He thrusts his demand into the air, ordering the caller's spell to be erased. Morini scoffs, but Kai cuts in with a cold stare, warning him to think hard about what... The old man tries to buy Fossil's loyalty, throwing him double Kai's pay like it'll turn everything around. But Kai calmly tells him, I'm not getting paid, I belong to my master. Morini sneers at Kai, yells that he stole his goods, then immediately turns around and enslaves even more people. Kai's voice slithers into a menacing whisper, warning Morini they didn't come to... Morini is blown away, he collapses hard, defeated. To unleash it, you've got to say the incantation, Corsicoria, and press your fingers to the back of your collar to set it free. With Kai vouching that he's telling the truth, Kai rockets back to Sarah. He storms back to an anxious Sarah and tells her the truth. Morini cracked under the pressure of 3 mages. As Kai reaches for the collar, Sarah's whole body shakes with terror. She worries that once it's gone, she'll lose. Kai slides his hand onto her collar, and his touch instantly calms her down. And he pledges he'll figure out a way to erase every bad effect, no matter how long it takes. He took a gamble and cast the spell. With a blinding flash, the collar fractures apart, crashes to the floor, and shatters into pieces. With joy bursting out of her, Sarah shouts that it's finally off. As Kai finally apologizes for the ordeal, she rockets into his arms, sobbing, and begs him to explain how he can be so impossibly kind to her. In a breathless, heart-kicking moment, she lets her shyness spill out and asks, "Do you like me?" And Kai doesn't dodge the trick. Overwhelmed to the core, Sarah realizes she's not just connected. Kai gets totally flustered by the confession, but she flashes a grin and tells him that just hearing him say, "I love you." Morini demands her broken collar back, but Kai shuts it down hard, snapping that he'll never hand that deadly thing to a slave trader. As the crew strides through the city, Fossil can't stop staring at the fossil marvels, and with Ren's reveal, it hits. Kai leans in and demands to know what's really going on with the Empire's war against the Fossil can't shake the feeling. It's weird as hell because the kingdom is across the sea. Right then, Fossil's eyes catch a boat he knows, and he slips out with a quick excuse to go check it. While he's away, the rest hit the market and start hunting for answers. Where a shattered, drunk soldier grabs Sarah with brutal cruelty. Kai rushes in to stop it, but the man's cronies howl with laughter and snatch him right up. Just as they're about to lay a hand on him, Ren blasts one of the soldiers clean off his feet with a single punch. Fuming, he figured that reckless man needed a serious lesson in manners. The chaos yanks the city guard into action, and their captain rushes in with a fierce apology. The name hits Kai like a truck because it's the exact same as Kai's surname. A sudden flashback rips open Fossil's past, back when a younger Sir Edward fought with a warm heart and still managed to beat him in that duel. Then he bolted in sheer panic the moment they told him his daughter was sick. That memory flashes back, and a sorrowful smile crawls onto Fuzzle's face. He storms to see the general, but an aide stops him cold, saying ever since his daughter died last spring. The general has vanished from the world, shutting himself away and refusing to speak to anyone. Fossil snaps back, insisting he got rejected, while the general fires back that he doesn't even know who Fossil. At the inn, a crushed Fossil sinks into silence, all alone with its heartbreak. Kai strides up and demands to know where General Enfield is. Ren jokes that they're planning to assassinate him, and Fossil shoots back an annoyed glare. Kai finally spills the truth about why they're here, and they're convinced the general is. Fossil freezes after hearing the general's daughter, Kaid, is dead, while Kai and Ren lock eyes. Right then, Ki burst in with pure joy, shouting Fossil's childhood nickname. The mercenary is completely stunned, because Kai breaks down how dangerous things are, then begs Fossil to help set up a secret meeting with her father. Without a second thought, Fossil nods and snaps, "You've got it, I'll help my precious family no matter what." He smiles, already sure this news will rip her father out of his crushing despair. Way out there, Edward broods alone on his throne, reduced to a hollow shadow of the man he used to be. A spark of hope ignites when Keed drops a genius idea. She's going to write her father a secret letter. She's sure he'll spot her handwriting, realize she's alive, and come sprinting back the second he... The crew panics. What if the temple priests clamp down and silence every message they try to send? But Kai shrugs it off, saying, "As long as we've got Edward's name, we'll track down someone who can deliver it." Keed's bright innocence cuts the silence when she asks Fossil if he's planning to live with them too, and you can... With fresh fire in her chest, she writes the letter by hand, pouring every feeling. The message drops in, and for one heartbeat, hope hangs there. But that spark of hope gets brutally smashed the moment he clenches the paper and crumples it in his fist. His face goes. The whole crew clenches their nerves, minute after minute, but he never shows up. Keed's stomach drops as she can't stop wondering, did her own father forget she even exists? A crushing realization hits her so hard, Fossil's rage ignites as he barrels into the fortress, roaring for Edward, only to slam into a wall of guards blocking his way. The loud commotion snaps the attention of a high-ranking priest, and Fossil clocks the crazy, over-the-top security just to escort one man. He finally learns the terrifying truth about the war they're gearing up for, and once those days pass, he's set to sail. Realizing straight-up tactics won't cut it, Kai decides it's time to go on the offensive, no matter what it costs, even if it means defying the entire empire. Fossil stays on guard because he knows Edward is a battlefield genius. But his rage finally snaps, and he declares he's ready to throw down, hell-bent on landing at least one punch. He leans in and tells Kai straight up he's got zero loyalty to that kingdom, and he severed ties ages ago. With the clock screaming down, Kai unveils his wild new plan. No waiting for Edward to show up, they're going to shove him. Their eyes lock on one thing, an enormous fleet of warships packed into the Lebel unleashes her razor-sharp sight, tracking the ship. Kai snaps into action. He orders Ren and Abyss to cook up a distraction, and the whole plan. And with his loyal Tennohir at his side, a pioneer village's unit surged forward, charging straight for the water. To the utter shock of two elf watchers, the tiny creatures snag a full-on. Kai lays it out next move. They'll bait Edward to their village, take control of the fight, and like clockwork, panic detonates inside the fort. The commanders choke on horror when they realize their entire fleet is engulfed in flame. A massive inferno erupts, lighting up the whole night sky like it's on fire. Ren admits her distraction was a little flashy, but it totally slammed the brakes on the Empire, stopping them from going to war. From the raging flames, a silver-haired witch steps out, and Edward immediately feels that terrifying. Kai and the others lean in, staring through a magical monitor as Edward finally steps onto the ramp. You can spot him from a mile away. Seeing her father sends Keed into full panic, she yanks herself free and sprints straight toward him. She shouts his name, her voice shaking with desperate hope as she scrambles toward the wall. And her father leans over her, staring with icy, dead-eyed silence. That sight shatters Fossil's calm. Rage erupts, and with a furious roar, he vaults the wall. He shrieks at Edward, begging him, please wake up from the spell that's got him. That's when Kai finally realizes Edward isn't acting on his own. Some priest's soul bind. A brutal clash erupts the moment the four mages rocket forward to intercept Fossil. Kai snaps his wrist and shatters one of their ice spells like it was made of glass. But Edward steps in, flicks a hand, and wipes out Fossil's magic like it was nothing. Fossil gets stuck facing Edward solo, while the ladies tear through the four priests. Kai snaps to Abyss, hit them with earth magic, and launches the shockwave to throw the enemies off balance, setting up the perfect opening for Ren and Sarah to unleash their battle-maiden sanctuary. But the priests just bless these shields, so the attack gets swallowed up and disappears. Edward unleashes a savage barrage of dark energy, blasting his way into retaliation. Fossil gets impaled by jagged shards as he throws himself in front of the others. With Fossil badly hurt, their chances crumble fast and the whole situation turns desperate. Kai orders Ren to hold the line and snag them time while the healers rush in to work, but they're totally, completely cornered with nowhere to go. Seeing her friends get hurt by her own father is the final breaking point for Keed. Her grief detonates into raw rage as she screams at him, calling him a dummy for hurting everyone. As she screams, a blinding, unstoppable beam detonates from her body, unleashing a mind-blowing power and granting him a burst of temporary life. The earth splits and shakes as a gigantic golem rips itself out of the ground, and its massive presence makes the priests lose their minds, and they shriek at their soldiers to flee for their lives. As the creature collapses into dust, Keed spots her father sprawled in the rubble. Then the spell finally snaps, breaking for good. He jolts awake, convinced he's dead, then realizes his daughter is staring back at him like. Keed barrels toward him, breathless as she whispers, "It's real, this isn't a dream, I'm back and I came for you." In a sobbing hug, she clings to him and whispers, "It's time, go get my mother." Back at the safe haven of their village, Fossil couldn't help but tease, laughing about how luxury it feels to be woken up by your own daughter after unleashing that kind of magic. Edward finally snaps his eyes up and looks around at the strangers who saved him, then blurts, "Who are you guys?" With a proud grin, Kai beams as he ushers him into their brand new place, Tenohira. Kai spots Kite outside, and she's not even remotely happy about the new living setup. She grumbles that she'll live. Kai leans in and tells her softly but surely that she can finally move back in with her parents and let herself breathe, no limits. She puffs out her cheeks and declares, loud and proud, "I'm a woman now, don't just toss me aside." Kai lets out a silent sigh thinking, yep, this is just her rebelling against her father, because she's not the same little kid who used to panic. Ki digs in her heels and refuses to leave, even though everyone can see she's just masking fear. Fresh off one family disaster, Kai barrels to the pioneer village and orders Chromu to stitch winter coats for Edward, his wife, and father. And he had to get them ready in just 3 days. Meanwhile, Kai and the elves huddle around their monitor as they lock onto a secret meeting being broadcast live. As Edward sits down with Yuri, the ex-princess, he bluntly tells her Kai probably sent him, because nobody else could. Yuri fires back at Kai's shocking sharpness, saying he's way more abnormal than even. As Kai hangs back and listens, the elves pounce on him, teasing him non-stop for being so painfully clueless. On screen, Yuri clocks Kai's shocking innocence. Like, even with that overwhelming power at his fingertips, he still refused to kill us. Edward asks if Yuri tracked him down just to talk about Kai, but Yuri shuts that down fast, refusing to throw out an apology and watering down the storm of emotions raging in. Edward thinks she's after revenge with Kai's power, but she shuts that down hard with a flat-out denial, whispering that the only thing she wants is to erase it all and forget. Losing her country and being shoved into flight left a scar that never fades, and she knows she has to drown that emptiness with something new. She blushes and starts to complain, saying that even though she's got feelings for Kai, he keeps dodging the question like it's on fire, leaving the eavesdroppers totally stunned, like they couldn't even process what they just heard. Yuri quickly snaps that she meant Fossil, the mercenary, then drops the real reason she trusts Edward. He's Keed's father, and Edward grabs his oath with his life and promises he'll never put Kai at a disadvantage. Because this island, Yuri then points out that Kai has been creeping way too. Edward spots her jealousy the moment it hits, and that one fact makes him smile. Yuri's stunned because that annoying sting of watching Kai smile at someone else hits him hard. It's jealousy. Edward then drops a jaw-dropping truth. Fossil planted that rumor that Edward and his wife were. Years ago, he pitched the idea even though he and the Emperor were already on thin. What she laughed off back then ended up being the real spark that lit the war. A prince so proud he refused to admit a woman was his weakness decided the royal family should be taken, not killed. Then slavers caught up to them and the whole plan crashed. Irie is left shaking in horror as she realizes her mind spins out of control when Edward drops the terrifying idea that there's another mastermind pulling all the strings. Even though Kai begged her to drop revenge, a demon curled inside her mind kept whispering, "Don't forgive, make the one who did this pay." Edward gets why she's hurting, but he slams the truth into her. Vengeance is a trapdoor, and the path will betray her every step. Back in his room, Kai yanks the monitor's power off. A grim look twisted across his face because he knew she still hadn't quit for even a second. And he decides to sit her down for a serious talk, then take it straight to the people of Mandal. In the castle hall, the citizens packed the room and spilled their worries. Top of the list was Yuri, grinding herself into the ground until she was one breath from collapse. When Kai hears their worries, he shoots back, "Don't worry, I'm finding a way," and vows to head straight for the pioneer village. There an elf steps in and greets him with a bountiful harvest of grapes, already rooted and ready. After he sank his teeth into that rich, mouth-watering flavor, he decides, all right, let's try making one. The elves can't wait, they cheer as they stomp the grapes with their bare feet, splattering juice everywhere like they mean. He burst out laughing as the bloodstains wrecked their clothes. Someone offers you a taste of kaya, freshly stomped juice straight from the start, which he cautiously sips, and right away it hits warm in his throat, soft, weak, but still something. They slam the juice into a barrel and let it ferment in the dark until it's ready. But just a few days later, their experiment detonates. Pumped-up gas turns to a raging inferno and blows the barrel to pieces. Kai just smirks and drops the truth like a mic. Failure is the mother of success. Their second try finally pays off, victory hits, and they celebrate by sipping their own homemade wine. Your village shoots up to level 35, turning into a buzzing trading hub with fresh specialties, and even Kai sees it as the perfect way to level up the island's technology. And just when he thought he had everything figured out, he discovers a new elf has joined the mix, Enal, the oldest of three sisters, while the very next day, he and Yuri race over to check out a mansion where they spot Enal rage playing a video game like it just insulted his pride. After getting crushed in a brutal game of... She introduces her sister, Seal, the advisor elf, and Seal blurts out that she used no... Seal then hands Kai a mind-blowing game he's recreated from his own memories. Kai invites a shy Yuri to jump into a two-player game, hesitation and all. Totally lost trying to figure out the controls. She fights tooth and nail against those pixelated enemies. But after hours of pressure, she finally unleashes a victory roar because she just crushed the enemy general. Fire blazing in her eyes, she braces for level 2. While the crew is busy practicing magic, Kai's eyes drift off somewhere else, and he grabs his break. He tells the others about ancient ruins on the island's northern edge, places that Fossil can't shake the feeling. Why in the world is this here when the temple was supposed to But Abyss rips the mask off. This island was never truly... Her voice shakes as she tells them, if UD started digging, and Fossil can't deny it, his curiosity is blazing, because the temple is acting like it. Kai huddled everyone up and handed out expedition rolls, then ordered Abyss to stay put, guarding the fort with Ren. The moment she realizes it, panic hits. She blurts out, why do I have to stay? But Kai speaks through a heavy heart. If he dies, Abyss might shut out everyone else, and he's terrified Yuri will go berserk. Right at the ruins entrance, the group hits a wall of bizarre. That's why Abyss would start feeling sick the moment he got close to this place. Kai looks them dead in the eyes and tells them, if I get taken out by a trap, which Fossil dismisses as a death flag, Kai can't shake the thought that and the sickening idea of having to face a full swarm of 100 Abyss-class mage dolls. Inside, the air is actually breathable, but the whole structure feels wrong. It's no military base at all. This thing is a weird research lab. As they push deeper into the unknown, they stumble. Just as they're about to investigate, a shadowy figure rockets in from behind and tackles Kai. In a blur, he shoves it aside, then freezes because it's a perfect copy of that replica doesn't react to anything. No breath, no life, not even a... Guy storms back to the pioneer village with that creepy doll in his arms. When the elf girl checks it, she snaps. That's not a real replica. It's just a hollow model, all shell and no energy, no guts in every living thing. Yeah, even replicas like that Abyss spits out energy. But this one is back in the ruins. The mystery tightens its grip as they finally pry open the suitcases. To their total shock, they open the stash and find spare sets of Abyss's one-of-a-kind clothes waiting for them. The outfit is a perfect match, the exact same clothes that doll was wearing when it was first discovered. Turns out the Abyss is way more tied to this place than anyone ever suspected. But the ruins keep stretching on, swallowing more secrets the deeper you dare to look. Winter crashes down on the island and buries everything under a thick blanket of snow. And just like that, spring's right over the horizon. While they're stuck waiting for the temple ship, Abyss can't stop worrying it might not show up this year. Until Kai steps in and promises that she asks if he's ever going to see his own family again, and Kai just shuts it down, saying it's been so long that they're probably... Abyss rips through the lie, clamps down on his hand, and forces the truth out, because he'd rather put every... Moved to the core, she swore to him, if no fresh kids show up this year, they're going... Kai starts picturing the look on his family's faces when they see just how huge his new family has gotten. A few days later, they finally spot the ship blazing over the horizon. Everyone barrels toward the shore, and just when hope is at its peak, the crowd's cheering flips into confusion, because they're not seeing a child at all. Abyss has watched this place for 60 years, and not once has he ever seen a single adult get left behind here. The woman is yanked onto the beach, tied up tight and gagged, as the ship roars off and leaves her. Cayenne crept forward on careful steps, then yanked off her gag and rope like she. They reach for her blindfold, but she snaps it shut, stopping them cold, and tells them it's a magical tool that won't come off. She suddenly asks, is this the taboo island where the witch was sealed? And it blows both of them away. Ren shoots forward and checks her for a holy mark the second she comes, hunting for anything that didn't match Kai's and realizing it's out there, waiting to be found. The woman snaps forward and introduces herself, calling herself a blessed turn from God, like time itself has named. Tears blur her eyes as she spills her tale. After a grueling run at the grave, her composer snaps to pieces as she screams out that after pouring her heart into the temple for 500 years, that I'm standing on that number like it's the only truth that matters. Once her rage finally settles, she discovers the truth. But he's completely stunned, because everyone warned him that staying here for just one day is deadly. Kai shuts her down mid-sentence and demands to know what she meant by the sealed witch. She tells the legend of a witch from 700 years back. That witch didn't just get caught, she was dragged down, bound, and sealed away. Kai's head spins, he blurts out, why even seal them in that temple? Just end the targets and be done. The woman breaks down the divine return concept, an ironclad law that forbids her from killing the blessed. If that killer blast gets stopped, their rage and power explode. This is the island's terrifying truth. They've been left to die indirectly, because if anyone on a deserted island, the bodies would stay countable. And if anything, after the grim explanation finally ends, Kai steps up and right then the exiled priestess steps forward and introduces herself, Rosalind, or just Rosa if you prefer. Kai gently takes Rosa's hand, concern blazing in his eyes as he leans in and asks if she's really okay on an island packed with magic. She grins and tells me the truth. She, Abyss, and this little old me have been living here for almost 3 years, and we've already wiped out most of the monsters. As they head down the path, Kai can't help himself. Curiosity claws at him, and he blurts out a question about the ornate blindfold hiding her eyes. She confesses that it's a magical tool she's worn since before her duty even started, 500 years ago, and now nobody alive has any clue how to pry it off. She keeps pushing the truth. She was manufactured as a sane test, even though she's younger than everyone in the room, even the bishop. Kai leans in and presses her harder, demanding to know what kind of work she pulled off for 5 whole centuries. With a dramatic flourish, she uncovers her secret, a blessing from the time god that lets her whole mission was to unleash this power on the patron. For 500 brutal years, she kept repeating the same task, and that endless grind would crush anyone's spirit. She straight up admits it wasn't some peaceful nap. She stayed fully awake the whole time, feeling the patron saint's identity is still a total mystery, folly faith's biggest secret, and the rumor says he guards the world even while he sleeps. After everything she went through, the temple she served just threw her out and left her for dead. But Kai steps up and offers her a fresh start, promising he'll build a whole country right here on this island for the exiles. He beams at her and warmly calls her Rose, like she's finally home. A new fire ignites in his eyes. He can't stop replaying Sarah's collar, and with that, he decides he'll finally go after Rose's blindfold. And he works to heal her eyes she hasn't dared to use in ages. When he closes the distance to her, everyone misreads him, assuming he's about to pull something lewd, forcing him to admit that right now, he's about to try taking off the blindfold. A wave of pure terror slams into Rosa as she pleads with him not to, because that blindfold is. Kai stays cool and tells her to keep her eyes shut, then he calls on his skill, transient life. The curse class snaps open like a trap door bursting to life. As she yanks the blindfold away, it slips clean off her face. Her eyes snapped open for the first time in centuries. The moment she steps out, the whole world crashes into her senses like a tidal wave. Overwhelmed beyond words, she burst into tears of pure joy the second she finally. Kai flashes a simple smile and warmly welcomes her back to his country, like the journey never ended. Later on, the whole village erupts in celebration and throws a massive feast that goes on and on. Rosa is bursting with joy. savoring the warm food like it's a miracle after being stuck on cold rations in the underground temple ruins for centuries. Tears spill as she blurts out that she's finally free, that she made real friends, and that she owes it all to someone. The moment that name drops, it slams into Kai like a punch to the chest. Rosa leans in and tells him the truth. Rukia is the one who came after her, the long-awaited blessing from the time god. Ice cold fear grips Kai as he presses the girl for her name, her age, and where she's from. Rosa, thrown off by his sudden intensity, snaps back to the truth. She's about 15, and her name is Rukia Husqvarna. The horrifying truth slams into Kai. His little sister is trapped in that same freezing underground ruin, blindfolded, and doomed to the exact same 500-year fate. Cold rage blasts through him and wipes out the shock. He jerks to his feet, voice shaking with fury, and swears he's going to save Rukia. When someone finally asks why he's letting go of the secret he guarded like a treasure, Rukia answers, because she's his family. Rosa freezes in shock as the truth slams him. He's the brother Rukia had been hunting in secret. This is it, things are desperate. The underground room can only be unlocked from the inside, and once Rukia starts her duty, that door seals shut for 2 straight years. Kai leans in and asks Rosa if she's ever wanted to run, and she admits she did. She just couldn't ditch her little sister, who was still out there searching for the brother she lost. That's it, fire snaps in Kai's eyes as he tightens his fist, because deep down he knows he's the only one who can save his sister. On the Golden Hind, they shoved off, with Abyss calculating a brutal 7-day sprint to Milwaukee. Kai leans in and grills Rosa about her crazy, time-stopping power. She proves it the hard way. She slams Permanence's principle onto a statue, turns it pure gold, and locks it into something nothing can ever shatter. The implications hit like a thunderclap. She could forge a sword that nothing could ever break. That seals it. Kai was right. The temple's been tapping her power to forge magical tools, and it sure looks like they're feeding slave merchants with them. He has to track down the info, straight up asking who else knows about her duty. She calls out the church's top officials, and then adds one extra, a special grade inquisitor. Vi Klosser, a notorious terror of a kid, famous for cruelty alone. The exact person who left her stranded on that island. To make it worse, Vea runs the time blessed, so he'll be right there, watching Rukia's imprisonment like it's his job. Rosa simply accepted her fate, and it hit Kai like a punch, dragging him back to the helplessness he felt in his past life. But this time defiance surges through his veins. He won't back down, not this time. He's got the lead, and he'll race to save whoever he can reach. He tears through the silence, screaming his sister's name into the open ocean, swearing with everything he has that he's coming to get her. 7 days later, and the clock keeps ticking. The crew huddles around the map, and there it is, Rukia Cathedral, sitting right there in the holy city of Milwaukee. They hatch a daring scheme, dress up as pilgrims, and slip through borders bristling with guards. They'll plant temple spies in every shadow because they're everywhere. Their very first mission is to hunt down information. After sunset, a tiny party ship broke the waves and rolled onto shore. Wrapped in dusty pilgrim robes, and pushed through the crowd, racing toward the blazing holy city. The streets are packed way tighter than they should be. A swift investigation uncovers the truth. This city is gearing up for a massive Millennium Festival, and it's about to blow everyone's minds. Seeing 2 cathedrals and a sea of tourist spots, Kai realizes the security net is going to be stretched thin, perfect conditions for them to slip in unseen. He rallies his tiny infiltration squad, barking, "Stay tight, don't break formation," as they slip into the roaring crowd and vanish. The city streets choke with non-stop people, and it's nothing like the quiet life Kai used to know. He and his crew get suddenly swept into the Millennium Festival, one wild event that only happens every 1,000 years to honor the day the great demon god war finally ended. While his friends dive headfirst into the thrill, Kai keeps it crystal clear, this mission is deadly serious. They grab lodging, set up their base of operations, and then Kai, Ren, and Yuri gear up to scout their true target, the cathedral. He tosses money to the others so they can have fun and sniff out intel, while a calm smile hides the tension snapping tight inside his chest. Yuri playfully snaps at him, reminding him this isn't a game, but she can't stop herself from letting the others steal a little fun. As they head toward the cathedral, Yuri slides up beside Kai and needles him, laughing at how he was completely head over heels for Sierra the whole time she was gone. Kai turns completely red-faced when Yuri's sharp gaze pins him instantly, and it's worse because Abai-chan apparently blurted it out like it was nothing. He tries to insist he's just relieved Sierra's collar is finally gone, but Yuri snatches the moment and clings to his arm, saying her royal status comes with privileges. Their playful banter dies down the closer they get to the path leading straight to St. Paris Cathedral. A rumored hub packed with power-fueled facilities that could feed a sealed witch, exactly the kind of secret their mission lived for. The Cathedral of St. Arthur looms ahead of them, an enormous monument to the blind, bitter stupidity of faith. Step inside and the sheer scale hits you like a punch. Faithful pilgrims crowd around, praying to statues of their god. But Kai feels zero reverence. He only sees the rot, innocent hearts getting trapped and used, as powerful people demand the sacrifice of countless children to buy themselves peace. A cold, dark blaze sparks in his eyes the moment he spots the church officials living it up in luxury, and he vows to make them pay, right here, right now. But right before rage can swallow him whole, Ren's hand clamps onto his shoulder, one silent warning that stops him cold. She snaps back that this isn't the right time or place, and they can't torch this garden into ash in a single minute, not even if their hearts are screaming for it. Kai shoves his rage down hard, remembering he's got one job: protect everyone on his island from the fallout of their rebellion. A whole year back, an entirely different adventure was already headed toward this holy city. Rukia, still just a kid, rode through the streets in a carriage while her friends buzzed nonstop about the legendary dumplings of Milwaukee. Rukia got swallowed by her own world, trapped in a quiet, crushing melancholy. She couldn't stop thinking about her father, the one she hadn't seen in 2 whole years, and the crushing loneliness that was waiting for her the moment she stepped back into Raveldra. But her real mission burned in her chest: track down her brother. His blessings had been turned away by the temple, and she was dead set on cracking that mystery back in their headquarters. Right when she arrives, she breaks down in front of her friends, tears streaming as she tells them the Archbishop summoned her, and she fears it might be the last time she'll ever see them. With a heavy heart, she vows she'll see them back in her home country, but she can't shake the fear that she might not make it. Her resolve steel classes. She'll hunt down her brother no matter what it costs, even if she has to turn the entire temple into her enemy. A chilling smile greets her, Vi Closser, the special grade inquisitor. He orders her to pull cloth over her face, then tells her this mission stays secret, before guiding her straight down into the cathedral's hidden underworld. In that massive underground chamber, she finally meets Rosalind, a woman with a tired yet warm smile that feels like comfort. Vi unleashes the truth about Rukia's brutal new destiny. She's Rosalind's successor, and her job is to tap into that time blessing to keep a slumbering patron saint locked down forever. For 500 years, she's trapped in this room, doomed to serve her duty for as long as time itself refuses to end. Year after year, time traps him inside this glittering gilded cage. Rukia's power keeps surging, but despair crushes her as she searches for a way out and finds nothing, not even a path to her brother. Rosalind leans in and tells her, "As long as I'm alive, you can start over," but hope is already burning out like a dying ember. One day, Vi storms back and shoves Rukia writing supplies, acting sweet as she can, yet that gift screams danger and lights up alarm bells in Rukia's head. With raw, desperate energy surging through her, she slams the Eye of Truth into action. Vi smiles with sick delight as she gets hit by a brutal vision. Then he murders her brother right in front of her. The truth slams into her like a wrecking ball. Vi drops the act, his grin twisting into a venomous sneer as he confirms her brother has been dead for 3 years, cut down long ago. He says her brother and Rosalind both knew way too much, and they had to be shut up, because the fate of the whole world demanded it. He clamps his hand around her chin and yanks her eyes onto his as he lands the last soul-crushing truth. If the patron saint wakes up, the world collapses and her father, her friends, and every innocent believer get dragged straight to hell, and it'll be her fault. Her face hardens into a horrifying mask of straight-up, unfiltered terror. He abandons her in the silent room, and the door slams shut behind her with a sharp click. Rukia crumples to the floor, and her entire world gets smashed to pieces, like it's been completely annihilated. The last spark of light in her eyes dies out, and all that's left is a cold, empty darkness. Rosalind bursts into the sunlight, grinning like she's finally breathing again after forever, then remembers the magical blindfold on her head and can't shake the mystery she still can't crack. Yuri hurls out a plan. She'll use her blessing from the God of Truth to dig straight into Rosalind's memories. And Rosalind can't hold back. She eagerly accepts, revealing her real goal: finding her brother. Yuri grabs her hand and warns her, because once she pushes through 500 years of memories, the Eye of Truth is about to activate, hard. A blinding blast of energy erupts like lightning, tearing through everything. But the attempt crashes hard. Yuri spills apologies, insisting she can't find a single lead on the brother, and all she got was a chilling vision of Rosalind's endless loneliness as she sinks, step by step, into darkness. Yuri's expression turns rock solid with determination, and she swears she'll uncover the man behind it, before that future ever gets the chance to happen. Back on the island, the search rages on. Then Rival fires up God's keen eye, and the hunt goes to a whole new level. They tracked Vyklauser down near the cathedral, but when they searched, Kai's sister, Rukia, was nowhere to be found. Kai leans in, reassures her, and his thoughts instantly sprint toward the bigger plans he's already cooking. Just as his mind starts racing, the village girls swoop in and hand him a souvenir, local red bean dango. That simple snack hits Kai like lightning, flooding his chest with pure joy as he finally realizes he's found it. Inal practically explodes with joy, shouting, ridiculously confident, that rice is officially going to be their new staple food. Kai shrugs off her mockery, but Enel is already plotting to send a villager outside to learn how to grow it. Then she clocked Kai's uneasy face and nailed it. He was silently thinking about his sister. He's never even crossed paths with Rukia, but somehow that doesn't shake his ironclad resolve to rescue her, whatever it costs him. Enel flashes a fearless smile, swearing she sees it crystal clear, and he'll forge his own legendary future with a brutal energy no one else has ever gotten their hands on. Fueled by her words, Kai snaps his crew together around a map of St. Arthur Cathedral, a colossal, tangled labyrinth of a place. The stakes were brutal, so brutal that even Rival's mightiest sight couldn't find Rukia anywhere inside its walls. Rosalind can't help but guess that Vi, who ditched her 10 days ago, is only now crawling back to the holy city by boat. Kai clocks the tiny window they've got, but he refuses to pick a fight with a high-ranking inquisitor. Still simmering with a grudge, Rosalind darts in with a terrifying idea: kidnap Vi and lock him up on that island. And then idea Kai slips it away as a final, last-resort backup. The plan's locked in, everyone's ready to tail Vi the instant he makes a move, convinced he'll march them straight to Rukia. An elite infiltration squad is picked, and Ren slips into enemy territory by dressing up as a priest. And just like that, Abyss surprises everyone by volunteering. Offer Kai doesn't hesitate for a second and immediately accepts. The next morning, drenched under skies that wouldn't stop raining, Kai's squad rallies together, weapons checked, senses sharp, everyone's locked in for the mission. Rival's sharp eyes spot it instantly. Vi is already on the move at the cathedral's eastern temple. Kai doesn't waste a second. He orders Shinobi Kun to lock in an exit state. He fires up his pioneer village and teleports himself straight back to the island, ready to lock in the final preparations. Right as he's about to bolt, Enel slams into him with mind-blowing news. He's hit level 40. His vision of a whole civilization hinged on one thing, rice, and it had to be that special kind. Even better, right as they needed it, the village exit stake finally arrived, and suddenly they had 4 teleportation points to use. With every thought racing, confidence surges through Kai like a lightning bolt. And they blast off with Rival, while Enel is left behind, gripping the moment and hoping like crazy. The crew slips inside that massive cathedral without getting caught. Ren bursts into the light, her sharp senses zeroing in on Vi's lingering scent like a trail only she can see. She storms them toward a heavily guarded shrine, the gateway to a hidden underground room where Vi vanished without a trace. When a guard slams the brakes on your advance, Kai slips into the role like it was made for him, calling himself an inquisitor named Elvis and swearing he's there on Lord Vi's command. The guards, stunned by Abyss's breathtaking beauty, blinked in confusion, then waved them through. Down below, Vi clocks their arrival and dispatches his hooded servant Seals to scout the area. Then he snapped his focus back to Rukia and told her the moment had come to carry out her duty, starting with a magic blindfold, just like Rosalind. Down the corridor, Ren feels someone closing in, only it's not Vi. Kai snaps to attention the moment she realizes they've been caught, and she orders up Abyss to get her lightning ready. A hooded Seals bursts into view, and Abyss unleashes a brutal, earth-shaking blast, only for the Seals to casually swat the spell aside with a flick of her hand. Kai spits curses at his own miscalculation as Seals suddenly recognizes Abyss's magic, because they've crossed paths a full 1,000 years ago. She rips off her disguise and boom, her real horned replicant form shows up, the exact one Kai remembers from the ruins. Seals Abyss' celestial little secret, snarls that she'll stop every outsider cold, no matter what her master ordered. Kai's stomach drops when he realizes Vi Crosser is teaming up with something the doctrines label a demon. She unleashed both of her full strength. Yuri had to slam up a barrier to block her first brutal attack. With Kai yelling for full power, Abyss Nullify slams his magic seals back into place. Leaving her wide open, then Ren barrels in fast, and the great Magus of infernal flames is ready to crush her with a devastating attack. Ren's fiery punch blasts the replicant flying through the air. as their powers collide in a blazing storm of magic and fire. Kai blurts just one word, Tenohira, and the vanishing act rips the battlefield clean, stuffing the seal straight into his pocket dimension and leaving him totally powerless. She crumples to the ground, utterly defeated. Kai leans over his captive and tells Enel to grab onto her. The moment the obstacle was gone, he turned to his team and praised them for their outstanding work. His eyes locked onto the sealed door in front of him. Time S up, they've dragged on long enough and now it's go time. By play snaps a magical blindfold over Rukia's eyes, and her thoughts flood with heartbreaking memories of her big brother, burning with the desperate need to see him again. As she screams for him, the world tilts and her vision cuts to black. Elsewhere, Kai and his crew finally burst up to the door of the underground chamber. They decide to fire up Keed's power to pry it open, then Rosa rushes in to sweep the room for anything dangerous. Keed strides forward with total confidence, slams her Tenohira spell down to form a quick wall, but it just harmlessly ricochets off the door like nothing ever hit it. They finally spot it. The entrance is sealed behind a brutal, powerful blessing. Seals drops a genius plan, using the replicant celestial they unearthed in those ruins. Kai nods and agrees because he finally gets it. They won't even need the real seals once his help kicks in. The real seal looked absolutely sick at the whole plan. But she grits her teeth, salutes them, and gets stuck opening the door for their replicant. Right after a crash lesson on the brand new intercom system, Kai decides to keep Rosa totally hidden, because if their enemies figure out she's alive, everything goes up in flames. The replicant strides up to the console and declares to her master, loud and clear, that she's back. From the inside, he demanded answers, his voice sharp with suspicion as the delay dragged on. The second that door slides open, the replicant erupts into a brutal, no-holds-barred attack. But the blast fizzles out, bouncing off an unseen barrier circling the area by. He smirks like he already knew something was off, and he's ready, expecting intruders to crash in any second. Bai instantly spots Kai, just like they did at their last stop in that cathedral. Kai's whole party closes in on the Inquisitor, and Kai shouts for him to surrender. To everyone's shock, Bai throws his hands up and agrees on the spot, no struggle at all, while Cooley smirks, saying he's still not ready to die. They drag their new captive into the chamber, but Rosa stares around and snaps. The room's the same, yet Rukia's gone. Suddenly, his sharpened senses caught another presence hiding in the next room. Kai slams through the doors, shouting Rukia's name like it's the last thing he can do, only to find a gaunt, shackled man sitting there on a bed. The man jolts awake, heavy-eyed, and demands who they are, leaving Kai and a horrified Rosa frozen in total shock. A flashback rips the curtain off the church's evil plot. Right there, the Pope tells his subordinates they're about to awaken the guardian saint. So yeah, Rukia's powers weren't needed anymore. Then the Pope finally revealed the real plan, used the divine recoil of Rukia's power to obliterate the witch and sell her soul as a living weapon. Rukia was told this was her fate, an honorable martyrdom, stamped righteous by the church. The flashback keeps rolling as they drag Rukia before the sleeping saint, and betrayal ignites pure rage in her chest. She tears open her soul-reaping side attack and unleashes it like a nightmare. But then Bai whips out a magic ring that bars death, and you can see his shock. She'd use a death spell that casually. The Pope tells them, I already trapped the saint in a time-freezing spell, and now that Rukia's rebellion is crushed, they lay her down and put her to sleep. Back in the present, the awakened man shrugs off the title of guardian saint and tells everyone to just call him Arthur, an apostle of the creator god. After regrouping, Kai's resolve is rock solid. He's going to hunt down Rukia and rip her from danger, no matter what. Right now, they slam the brakes and retreat to the island, using Arthur as their bargaining chip. Kai snaps the chamber shut with a crystal stake, one that only he knows how to unlock. Then he smoothly feeds the guards a lie, swearing that the Blessed One will stay right there, on duty underground. He hands the town's security to clueless soldiers and slips away while they're still watching the wrong door. Arthur is shoved into a tiny hut, and alone, he relives the brutal 10 years of captivity, his heart clawing for one thing, to see his daughter again. Meanwhile, Kai rips through ideas for his next move, because the clock is already screaming that time is almost gone. His whole team is spiraling into crisis. Guardian Saint is awake, and Rukia is gone. They're left with no option but to interrogate him. Yuri corners Kai, clawing at his intentions. Will he take Bai hostage or cut him down outright? And warns him that sparing his life is a gamble they can't afford. But Kai slams the brakes on it. He refuses, and says he has zero intention of killing him. He snaps that his hatred isn't aimed at Bai people at all. It's locked onto the corrupt system and the wicked followers of the evil gods. He finally admits it, he's not scared of anything else, not even close. He's terrified of Bai because her thoughts are pure mystery, like a locked box that won't open. Rosa can't stand it. She finds that cold, emotionless way of discarding Rukia utterly inhuman and infuriating. They've locked in the plan: interrogate them by dangling a hostage swap for Rukia as the ultimate leverage. Inside the hut, Kai sits face to face with the captive inquisitor and starts laying down the rules. Bai will only answer Kai's questions. Bai strides in and introduces himself as Bai Crosser, the special class inquisitor from the central cathedral. When Bai drops his bombshell blessing from the goddess of fate, Kai's world lurches, because that power lets him glimpse the future unfolding in the world ahead. He makes it crystal clear: he can only spot the big, world-shaking events, not the personal stuff. When Kai presses for answers about Arthur, Bai's calm snaps. She spills that he's the keystone holding the whole world's balance together. Baden turns the tables with a sharp grin, piecing together from Kai's questions that they're heading for the Forbidden Island, and realizing Rosa must have spilled the secret to them. Kai's eyes widen in terror. He realizes he almost spilled their biggest secret without even meaning to. As Rosa unleashes pure rage, she screams at him, demanding to know how he ever figured it out. A tense reunion detonates into full-blown chaos when a blindfolded man shows up beside Kai and his companions, like he's been waiting for this moment. The whole group freezes in shock, Rosa most of all, her eyes locked on the man who ditched her for dead, terror swallowing her whole. Smiles coolly declared, shaking with relief, that he was just glad she was still alive. Rage floods her. Rosa snaps that he's trying to kill her, but Kai grabs the moment and begs her to calm down. Yuri yanks him back mid-lunge, snarling at him to wipe that grin off his face as she screams. Kai tries to bury the whole incident, but Bai shuts him down cold, reminding him that he's the one who ditched her on the island in the first place, a brutal move even if temple orders demanded it. Kai's attitude flips in an instant, no room for the wrong read, because even with every word between them, it's still pure mutual animosity, and they just might kill each other before this is over. Basemerk brags that he's acting like a guardian of justice, and Kai just laughs it off, because Basemerk still left kids stranded on that island. Kids twisted and cursed by a wicked, evil god. Bai finally spills the truth: an evil god is real, even if its name has been scrubbed from every single record. Mocking them as he taunted, "Why should you fear God when you can't even name him?" He explains that centuries ago, anyone who carried the god's blessing got branded as a witch just for daring to oppose the temple. Then he drops a bone-chilling bombshell: those temple higher-ups have flipped their policy, and now they're coming to hunt the witch sealed right here on this island. Leaving Kai completely stunned, like there was no way they could have pulled off that kind of feat. Elsewhere, Yuri corners Rosa, eyes narrowed to slits, and presses her. "So are you secretly a temple spy?" Rosa panics and swears it's not her, and just as Yuri shifts the topic, he turns the question on her. What does Rosa think of the tiny nation they've built? Yuri proudly flexes their brand new empire. There's a towering castle, cozy homes, a working farm, and even a full bathhouse. That island hit like a slap in the face, utterly empty, right after Kai got tossed into this monster-infested wasteland. She reveals the truth: Kai only lived because he already knew the real god's name, and that blessing sealed his survival. His sister Rukia witnessed the miracle firsthand. And if Kai hadn't shown up, Sarah would have been chained and sold into slavery, while the winged folk would have dropped dead by dawn. He built them all a home, and fought like hell to carve out a future they could finally live in. They named him their benefactor, so that debt surged right in, and now he shares it. Swamped by guilt, Rosa blurts out a heartfelt apology over and over. Yuri agrees, but warns that her punishment is a terrifying swing ride that ends with a brutal splash straight into the sea. Before he even asked her if she wanted revenge on Bai. Rosa admits she just wants to hurt him a little, and they both grin, knowing that sea punishment is perfect for him too. Back with Kai, everything goes from bad to nightmare level. Bai finally cracks the temple's horrible scheme. They're going to turn his sister Rukia into a god, a triple blessed one, and siphon her power for good. He snaps at Kai that the island is about to turn into a full-blown battlefield, then urges him to run, now. Right as Bai gets away, another man steps in, and before he can react, the guy admits he spilled way more than he ever should have during that interrogation. Edward Sand steps in and reassures him, because even with everything going sideways, they still snagged valuable information. As they stride on, they start piecing together the witch's whereabouts. Following Rose's intel, they're sure she's locked away inside that massive sacred tree, a place monsters won't even dare to step foot in. The horrifying truth hits Kai like a gut punch. This temple is protecting Rukia at all. It's planning to kill her, and her death will unleash a divine punishment so brutal it can smash the witch's seal wide open. His allies lean in demanding his next move, but ahead the road is swallowed in uncertainty. Edward Sand tells them to double-check the facts with the Holy Saint by bringing him along. Kai nods and decides to talk to him in private, just him and Ren, because this topic is too dangerous for anyone else to hear. They stumble on a weary man curled up inside a tiny hut. He introduces himself Arthur Williams Farley, an apostle of the creator god Aramira. Farley's name snaps out, slamming into Kai like a bolt of lightning. Arthur spills the truth. His gift lets him see the gods of colors, then he imagines them into existence, and those divine beings swoop down to hand out powers to random, blessed ones. He reveals he's already forged 13 gods, straight up, and Farley stands beside him as the chief deity. A flashback rips open Arthur's life from more than 1,000 years ago, showing him unleashing his power to save humanity. Swearing to his daughter he'd come back, he promised he'd return for her 5th birthday. But then Aerodoro, this terrorist crew, hit him and snatched him away, who kept him trapped for 10 long years, until they finally cast him into an endless sleep, only for Kai's crew to wake him up a whole millennium later. Kai's stomach drops as the truth hits. This man isn't just anyone, he's the ancient progenitor behind the Blessed Ones. Arthur, totally oblivious to how much time has slipped by, declares that Aerodoro is a cult that despises science. Mind sprinting, Kai blurts out if Arthur has ever heard of the Farley faith, but Arthur just stares, clueless, because he doesn't remember founding any religion at all. Kai leaves the man to rest and swears he'll help him track down his family. Outside, he and Ren lock in a fight with the world-shattering truth crashing down around them. They finally get it. The chilling truth hits hard. If Arthur, the man who created them, dies, then every one of those blessed ones could lose the powers he imagined for them. Kai finally clicks. He gets the real reason the temple kept him alive for 1,000 years. He clenches his resolve. He's never sending Arthur back. He'll let him live free, even if that freedom detonates chaos across the whole world. He's dead set on repairing a world that's already twisted out of shape. Ren throws his arms around him, swearing he'll shield him from everything, even if it costs him everything. The thought of his own death sealing his companions' fate hits Kai hard, so he calls for a strategy meeting, because he's determined to rescue Rukia. He breaks down the Arthur situation to the crew, then slams that problem on the back burner, because right now, the only thing that matters is the crisis in front of them. He lays out his simple plan: use the power of the search god to track down Rukia inside the holy city. They've got 2 choices: either rush in for a quick rescue or fall back when it fails, then deal with the witch on that island later. The terrifying risk of going head-to-head with those witches. Their weak position makes any negotiation with the temple feel downright impossible. One of them snaps that their anonymity is the biggest weapon they've got, so they can slip in, twist the arrogant temple's strings, and play them like puppets. Right as he starts talking, a wild burst of magical energy explodes out of the giant tree. Everyone bolts outside at once. The seal isn't shattered, but the magic color around it is flipping at lightning speed, wrong in every way. That terrifying finale is locked in, no stopping it now, and the witch's awakening could strike any second. Kai stared at the giant tree and realized something terrifying. Since he showed up, not a single monster had ever dared come near it. He once thought it was a safe haven, but the truth was way darker than he ever imagined. This island has one terrifying secret sealed away, a gift so deadly that even monsters backed off: a witch. Back at the table, the strategy meeting roars on as Fossil lays out Kai's mission: save his sister and keep the island safe. Kai refuses to back down from negotiating, but Fossil shuts him down fast. This temple won't even hear them until they can form a real country, boost their population, and kick off trade. To the world and the temple, they've got to be acknowledged as a real sovereign nation. And Kai's mind spins like a hurricane at the sheer size of what he has to pull off. Fossil leans in with a smug smirk, swaggering that their anonymity is the ultimate weapon, because nobody can even start to guess what Kai can really do. Armed with sheer military muscle and hostages they hold tight, taking the fight to them won't be a problem at all. Kai turns and asks everyone for their ideas, then looks right at the winged folks. But their representative can only choke out the truth. She barely understands a single word of the whole complex debate. Yuri cuts in and says that, as mere commoners with no learning or say in governance, they're basically expected to obey whatever their king, Kai-sama, decides. To prove her point, she throws out a scenario. A mid-sized country with 0 army gets invaded, and she fires the question at him: what would you do? She bluntly says the world is locked unless you've got real military power, or the allies to back you up. Then he starts praising Kai to the skies, basically daring everyone there. Who else could have cooked up a plan that advanced? Even the winged people can't help but admire his steady, grown-up outlook, because this noble has lived on that island since he was just 12. But Kai feels like a total fraud because his perspective isn't really his, it's just leftovers from a past life, where he was an ordinary, sickly guy who soaked up politics and wore for media instead of living them. The weight of his new crown crushes his chest, and in the quiet, he wonders, can he really bargain with the temple now that he's king? The heavy tension snaps when Rhea shouts, choking up, she can't even save her own family. Yuri clocked Kai's frantic pivot and shot him a knowing look, like she already saw exactly what he was trying to dodge. Soon Kai bursts into Tenohira village, and bright, cheerful Koromo sprints up to greet him with a big smile. She practically beams, then offers him something brand new she just made. It's a sweet, round little confection that practically melts in your mouth. And she'll probably toss that off like making it was effortless for her. As Kai sinks his teeth in, that warm, gentle taste smashes into him like a flashbang, yanking him back to his old life, one bright, happy moment with his family, something he'll never step into again. That sweet moment suddenly turns bitter with sorrow, and the elf sisters spot the shift in his face at once. Enel leans in close, worry blazing in her eyes, and asks if he's pushing himself way too hard. Kaya tries to play it cool, but Enel swears she can read right like a book, even through those forced smiles he's been wearing lately. Inside, he curses that his feelings won't stay hidden from her. Feeling like everything's too heavy, Enel decides she needs a boost and orders Seal to be summoned, because her secret plan is happening and Seal has no choice. Just as Kai's about to react, someone yanks him straight into a secret triangle-shaped room, clenched and trapped inside. The elf sisters ambush him and pile on top, trapping him in a tight, warm embrace. Koromo is mortified, practically begging Kai to look anywhere but her blushing face. Enel tells him this is the toughest stretch he'll ever have to survive, but if he feels like he's about to crumple, he can always come running to them. Her heartfelt words shatter his composure, and he crumples, tears pouring as he clutches her tight. She gives him a soft smile and tells him she'd be happiest if this ever became the kind of place where he could always run in and cry. With the pain finally easing up, Kai thanks her, and even Koromo, still totally flustered, blurts out that she actually loved it. Then the talk slams right onto the captive android, Celestial. She's stuck in a miserable state, barely holding onto consciousness as she lies there in her bed. And they spiral into a heated argument over what to do with her. Kai leans in and begs them to come up with a way to clamp down on her magic usage, which sparks an idea in Koromo's head as she yanks a magic sealing collar from a chest. Mariello storms in to inspect the device, tests it himself, and confirms it'll shut down any magic use, then proves it works for real. Ren darts in and snaps Celestial's collar neatly around her neck. And Kai, trusting Ren to keep watch, takes off outside. The second they slip out, Celestial awakens, snaps awake, only to find Ren holding her down and pinning her in restraints. Her first words hit like ice, "Why didn't you just destroy me?" Kai leans in and tells her straight up, "I've got questions," then points to her link to the Abyss. Celestial admits they were forged in the same lab, but she's got zero records on Abyss, the older model lurking out there. Spying the Forbidden Island, she panics and blurts, "Tell me, are my master and everyone safe?" Kai counters her right back, demanding, "So you know Rukia has Brunei, don't you?" Celestial locks up mid-spell and the truth bursts out, Rukia is her younger sister. She discovers Rukia got dragged off as a sacrifice, and she immediately storms for answers. Where is she right now? Kai grimly lays it out, Rukia used the power of death to try to kill her master, and now she's probably locked up behind bars. A shocking revelation slams into Kai's world, and he can't wrap his head around it. Sweet Rukia couldn't possibly wield a power so horrifying. Celestial's eyes widened as she made the connection. If Kai's telling the truth, then her master is still out there, still alive. Relief hits her like a wave, and tears flood her eyes as she barely whispers his name. That night, Kai sprawled in bed and grilled Abyss about everything that just went down. She fires off the question, when is he going to start hunting for his sister? And he answers, clear and firm, he's going to talk to the temple first. He's convinced this is the calmest route, and the only way to keep Rukia safe the moment she lands on that island. Caught in a brutal dilemma, he has to choose, save Rukia and doom their only defense against the sealed witch, or sacrifice her and hope they can hold the line. A threat he knows is coming, and it's one he and only he will have to face head-on. Abyss looks at his own life and wonders why he's stuck carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. But a heavy sense of responsibility slams into him, because he brought all of them to this island, and he won't let them down. She crushes him in a tight hug and swears she'll protect him, no matter what comes. She knows she can't save everyone, but she also knows he'll never quit, not for a second. Her words hit him like a spark, and his strength comes roaring back. His resolve hardens into two missions: save Rukia and keep the islanders out of danger. With that bis beside him, he feels like he can take on the world. The plan's locked in, now it's just courage that has to take the first step. Far away from everything, Rukia snaps awake in a bizarre room, gagged tight and strapped down, completely at someone else's mercy. A woman clutching a book steps forward and declares herself, Mariella, the chosen one blessed with the power to put anyone to sleep. Set on breaking Rukia's will and bending her into a temple puppet that would obey without question. She promises she'll rip the gag off the second Rukia behaves. Rukia snaps to it in an instant. Her captor has zero clue what she's truly capable of. With shocking audacity, she throws down a sacrifice and demands a temple secret from Mariella, then promises answers only if Mariella gives it up. Mariella lets out a smirk and remarks, basically, you've got nerve. But Rukia fires back, sharp and fearless, saying a higher-ranking priest wouldn't be stuck as a warden unless she was getting punished. Mariella's smile cracks when she confesses she was dragged there because someone like Kai, total brat, got her sent. When they say his name, Rukia snaps into, I don't know anything mode, insisting that's just the name of her missing brother. Mariella brushes it off instantly, pointing out there's zero resemblance. Right when the opening appears, Rukia jumps in, offering to spill the truth of her blessing if he'll grant her one favor, and yanks Mariella's hand, unleashing the eye of truth like a flash of destiny. In Mariella's chaotic memories, a shadowy figure flashes by, could it be her brother? And that tiny spark of hope slams into her chest, giving her the will to keep surviving. Rage floods Mariella's eyes. She snaps that the intruder will take her to the promised blessing. Rukia gives a nervous little smile, like she's begging forgiveness. Then she finally unleashes her true power, ***, the law of eternal constancy, ***. Mariella lets out a brutal scream as her body locks up in shimmering energy, every movement suddenly gone. When the other priests finally crash into the room, it's already over. Mariella stands there, frozen solid like a statue, untouchable. One of the priests snatches the now powerless Mariella, yells that she was meant to be watching her, and demands she take the blame for this disaster. The whole strategy session kicks off with one burning question: who's going to walk up and negotiate with the temple? To everyone's shock, Fossil flashes a cocky smirk like he's got this under control. Kai instantly doubts he can pull it off, and Fossil admits it straight. He can't do it either, but he's the only one who can make it work the right way. He coldly lays out the truth. The temple knows nothing about who they are, what they're chasing, or that they're guarding a guardian saint. In a world of shadowy missions, anyone who knows too much gets wiped out, so they're forced to pretend they know nothing. Fossil insists his rough, almost thug-like look is the perfect disguise, because he's too dumb for the part, unlike Kai and Edward's dignified faces. A sorcerer, that's the kind of villain who practically telegraphs himself, so the story gives them a clear, simple bad guy they can lock onto. Kai finally gives in, admitting the truth, because that's way more convincing than him just declaring himself king. Once the plan was locked in, they started building a convincing cover story for Fossil, the mercenary who'd washed up on the island while chasing work for a trading company. Meanwhile, Kai flips the first phase of their plan into motion and charges straight into the grand, towering St. Arthur Grand Cathedral. He checks the coast is clear, then spots the stake is still holding, so that room can only be opened from the inside. He and his companion climb the twisting stone staircase, step after pounding step. Right before he summons the guards below, his voice booms through the tower like thunder. The moment the intruder slips in, the guards snap to attention and roar, "Stop right now." But all they uncover is Beisama's clerical hat, plus a letter sitting on the floor like a warning, staring them down. Up on his high perch, Kai taunts them, claiming he snatched something precious, and daring them to negotiate with him. With chilling calm, he slams out the ultimatum. If they don't obey the terms written in that letter, both the child and the guardian saint are going to be executed. With a bright, cheerful farewell, he hands them 5 days to decide, then disappears like he was never there. The guards burst into the dead-end room, only to find it totally empty, like the intruders vanished into thin air. The headguard just can't stop spiraling on one horrifying thought: what is Kaisama really? Back in their hideout, Yuri finally breaks, spilling to Kai that she's been feeling downright inadequate, and that during the meeting she couldn't shake the sense that she was totally useless. She spent her whole life being treated like glass, and now she's ready to break free and bloom on her own terms. Kai leans in and softly reassures her, telling her her opinion is priceless, and making it clear she's nothing like ordinary. All flustered and red-cheeked, Yuri blurts out that he's the smartest, most charming guy she's ever met. Right nearby, Fuzzle needles Kai nonstop, teasing him like everyone's obsessed with him. But Kai's head is locked on the mission, and he presses Fossil, asking if he's really sure this route won't drag trouble onto his family. Fossil just waves him off, saying his mom is a marquis in the Imperial Army, so nobody can touch her, and that Kai shouldn't worry because he's been disowned for ages. With everything locked in, Kai slams out the final touches and finishes Fossil's character background. And he vows to drill negotiation scenarios every single day, right up until the meeting. Ready to meet every twisted trick the temple could throw at them. Fossil, blown away by his grit, nods and goes along with it. Kai whips around to Yuri and tells him the die is already cast, there's no turning back now, begging her to jump in and help him train through every practice session. He says that if someone as gorgeous as her slips into Fossil's lover role, people will finally buy his act as just a simple-minded bandit. Yuri calls him out for mocking her, even though deep down she's secretly begging him to do it more. Kai blurts out a fast, sincere apology for his carelessness. Yuri blurts out that he must not like her hugs, then ignores his reply and throws her arms wide, offering a crushing hug she swears will fix his acting. A flustered Kai gets yanked right into her tight embrace. As they clutch each other, Yuri lines in and murmurs that he's shaking, then it hits him, he's scared too. She flashes back to a time when brokering peace with the temple felt like a dream that could never happen. Kai blurts out apologies for everything, but Yuri shuts him down fast, she just wants to feel warm. A wicked grin spreads across her lips as she confesses she's honestly happy, like she's already sitting a throne above the other girls. With her heart hammering, Kai yanks back and declares, hard and final, that he won't take another step until he settles everything with his sister. Yuri stared at his grit and said, I swear, my mom always claimed men are powerless when a woman makes her move. She flashes a sultry smile and vows, once the talks are done, we're picking up right where we left off. Kai instantly clocks it as the kind of death flag that spells doom the second it shows up. The moment of truth is finally here, the day of the negotiation has arrived. The whole crew struts around in mind-blowing outfits, so flashy they look almost comically over the top. Yuri's real face stayed hidden behind a mask, shielding her identity from everyone who might recognize her. Kai, Edward, and the others shrug on their cloaks, then brace themselves and step toward the cathedral. They stride down the halls, absolutely certain Rose's time acceleration blessing will wipe out every magic trap in their path. The instant the Pope gets the alert, he's told they've arrived. They suddenly hear something heavy thudding into place, and Kai's gut screams it's an ancient weapon. As the gates swing wide, Fossil strides in with purpose, ready to kick off the negotiation. With a sharp final word, Kai warns him, don't you dare get reckless, as they drag the Holy Saint hostage and the threat hangs in the air. The Pope stands there dead calm, while a wall of intimidating guards looms on either side. Then they drag out their shocking prize, Rukia, Kai's sister, trapped and frozen inside a glowing crystal. Kai's blood turns ice gold as he locks eyes, and pure horror slams into him. Fossil, seated on a shaky throne like a born ruler, introduces himself, and then drops his wild demand. He wants the Forbidden Island to help forge his very own country. The Pope's wedding demands the saint's fate, safe or not, and Fossil calmly tells him the truth. The saint isn't dead, he's just asleep, frozen in time. When they ask who they are, Kai, voice masked, smirks and says, we're nobody special, just people who tripped over a hostage everyone forgot about. Fossil weaves a brand new lie, claiming he's a mercenary who stumbled onto a paradise island and uncovered its priceless treasure of a resident. The Pope leans in and demands, so you're with the anti-temple faction, and they shoot back, no way. Fossil refuses to hand the saint back, knowing the moment she returns, they're getting hit straight away. And then he suggests they handle the saint from their side. At that exact moment, Rosa yanks off her mask in one bold move, then the Pope finally sees who she really is. He jerks back in shock, accusing her of plotting revenge for the way he treated her. Rosa, tears streaming down her face, insists Fossil saved her, and then she drops the bomb, she's forgiven the temple. She panicked hard, then realized she'd totally blanked and completely forgot her lines. Yuri slides right in, steadies Rosa with calm words, and tells the Pope they'll shoulder the Holy Saint's duties until Fossil's country finally calms down. Then she slams down their trump card, another blessed time on their side, Rukia, who can freeze the whole scene in sleep. Cornering the temple, the Pope erupts with rage, but Rosa slams the truth down. Rukia is probably going to stay frozen for 2 whole decades. Yuri then drops the bombshell, she's the only one who can break the spell, so for the next 20 years, Rukia won't survive without her by her side. The Pope's mind is racing. This might be the perfect chance to shatter the witch's seal. Then he blurts out, "So what happened to Bai, the guy who delivered that letter?" Fossil reclines with a creepy calm on his face and tells the Pope straight up, "We killed him." The Pope freezes in disbelief as Kai watches, realizing this is the make or break moment. The Pope demands answers. Does Fossil really end up dead, or is this just a rumor driven by his own tone packed with disbelief? Fossil flashes a smug smirk and blurts that he'd been itching to torture the guy for answers first, while the woman beside him shuts it down cold. Of course, Bai tried to kill him first. An older general demands answers, and Fossil slips him a tiny note, claiming it holds the man's last words, because no matter what you hear, an evil god stays evil. They scratch their heads, staring at it like it's a mystery message, wondering if it's a full-on code. But it was all a cold, calculated bluff. Al finally shows their real play. They wipe out Baizo fast so he can't spill a single plan about Aramura. The temple got played by the ruse, and now they've flipped the whole script, vowing to finally shelter the kids they once left behind on that island. While the Pope hesitates, Fossil surges forward and throws his demand down. He wants them treated like an equal nation. The Pope snorts at the whole ceremony, demanding to know why they're even asking for official recognition for a place they already own. But Al knows one thing for sure: without it, building a real country is totally impossible. The temple's approval is the key step that diplomacy can't afford to skip. Still, the Pope sneers at the whole idea of carving out a nation on the so-called Forbidden Island. Fossil's grin stretches to a smirk as he fires off his trump card, casually dropping that the witch is sealed right there on that island. Rosa straight up confirms she's been in the know the whole time. The Pope waves off the danger, insisting she's just a former blessed one and that the seal is rock solid. Fuzzle drops a chilling thought: what if the seals can snap? And if they do, he'll march straight in and kill the witch himself. The threat hits like a hammer right on target, then a bead of sweat slides down the Pope's face as he finally gives in, choking out that the deal is sealed. They'll get the island, and the world will finally recognize them as a nation. He just laughed it off and swore no sane merchant would ever dare to show up in a place that remote. But Fuzzle knows this isn't the finish line. It's only the first kick in a much bigger journey ahead. That win feels empty the second his companion leans in and asks if this means they can finally get Rukia back. The Pope's warm smile drops like a curtain, and a cold glare locks in as he declares his one condition: the guardian saint has to stay right with them. Fossil detonates with rage, screaming that he's taken a hostage. But then the Pope smirks, dangling Rukia and the island like bait, and swears that the guardian saint must wake up, because an ancient prophecy says they've got a job to do. The crew leans back and remembers the warning like it was carved into their bones: don't you dare wake the saint. But Rosa just flashes that knowing grin like she already sees it. Yep, plan C is finally time. Fossil breezes through the agreement, then lanes in and asks, "So how are you planning to get us home?" But Al immediately senses the trap, because the Pope never planned to let them walk out alive. Fuzzle flashes a defiant grin, hurls a blazing fireball at the holy man, and dares him to come fight. With tension spiking, Rosa stays cool and promises she'll break the guardian saint's spell, then pushes the others to sprint ahead. She slides right up to the console. A massive metal door slams shut with a thunderous roar, trapping Fossil and his friends inside. Fossil spins around in pure disbelief, shouting, "Why'd you shut the door on me?" A recorded message kicks in through the speakers, Rose's voice, soaked in heartbreak, telling them she can't stay with them anymore. He erupts, screaming her name, demanding she stop messing around. But her message keeps going. She tells how he pulled her out of that lightless underground world and planted dreams in her chest, yet she let rage eat her alive when she killed Bai, and now she believes she's unworthy to stand at his side. Fossil roars at the door, screaming that she was born to live happily, then whips his rage onto Rukia, because he finally clocks the truth: Rosa is the only one who can shatter the spell. On the other side, Rosa walks up to the Pope and admits she lied. The spell won't wear off for 10 days, so she's choosing to stay behind and finish her duty. Through tears, she remembers the brilliant light Fossil carved into her world, swearing she'll keep it burning for centuries. Her voice cracks as she admits their time was brief but bright, then she whispers a last goodbye and clings to one desperate hope: to meet again in the next life. Rosa's desperate, agonized scream rips out of Fuzzle's throat. He hammers his fist into the unbreakable metal, fury burning, because she's choosing to march right back into that dark world. For a heartbeat, despair hits him like a wave and steals the light from his eyes. But that grief doesn't just break him, it forges him, turning sorrow into iron resolve as he swears that someday Rosa will come back to them. Now the Pope has the upper hand, smirking as he locks in the deal, so the island is still theirs. He bears his sinister plan. Within 10 days, Rosa and Rukia will be transformed into a divine return bomb, and the second Fossil's crew is back on the island. They'll all get wiped out. He cackles like it's already over, certain his victory is guaranteed. But he's celebrating way too early. Al just drops the bomb that they hit a stake inside the room, and now their next move is crystal clear. The mission just got flipped. Now they're rushing to save Rosa, and anyone who dares block them is getting wiped out.